After saying goodbye to their children at platform 9 3/4, Harry, Hermione, Ron, and Ginny stop at a quiet cafe, just to relive old memories. But fate has other plans. Hidden under their table lies a strange, ancient-looking book with a single word carved into its cover. Jumanji. Welcome to the Cosmic Harry. Join Patreon for early access of many stories. Now, without any delay, let's get straight to the video.
You don't get it. Ron's voice bounced off the warded brick. I revised. I trained. I did the drills. I still bombed the last practical. Again. It isn't about talent. It's about focus. Hermione shot back. Discipline. You keep. Cheers for the lecture. Ron's ears were red. Maybe write discipline on my forehead, yeah? In big letters. That'll fix it. It's not. I'm saying this because I care. Harry stood with his back to the shelves, jaw tight. It's fine. It's not fine, Ginny said, sliding between them with her palms up. Take a breath. Ron laughed once, mean at himself more than anyone. Course Harry thinks it's fine. He could sneeze and pass an oral exam. Stop. Harry kept his eyes on a knot in the floorboard. It's not. Can we not do this here? Hermione's voice softened and then sharpened in the same breath. Ron, you skipped 2 study blocks. You can't keep winging it and expecting. I didn't wing it. He bumped the oak table. The covered thing on it thunked. Runes around the cloth blinked once. Ginny's head turned. Careful. Ron huffed. What is that, anyway? Looks dodgy. Department of Mysteries Retrieval, Hermione said, brisk on purpose to stay calm. Hybrid relic. Console, book, something in between. We're cataloging it for... Ron, don't touch it. I'm not. He brushed the cloth while stabbing a finger in the air at nothing. Hermione reached to pull it back into place. They jostled. The cloth slid. The carved cover underneath caught the light. Jumanji, in worn gold. A rune at the corner flared. Another answered. The word start pulsed in a neat square on a small inset panel. Wind scraped along the ceiling as if someone opened a window that wasn't there. Back, Harry said. Hand up. Step back. Don't panic, Hermione said, but her voice clipped on the last word. The air pressed in. A low mechanical hum mixed with something older. Wind turned into a shove. Shelves rattled. The wards thrummed. The panel flashed start. 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 Close it, Ron yelled. Ginny grabbed Harry's sleeve. The room tore away. Heat slammed Harry's face. Mud sucked at his boots. He hit ground on one knee and one hand. His palm slid in wet leaves. The air stank of rot and sugar. Insects whined. He coughed and tasted grit. Everyone, he said, lungs burning. Talk. I'm here, Ginny gasped, pushing hair off her cheek. Ow, splinter. Present, Hermione said, already patting her belt like she expected to find pockets she didn't have. Oh, brilliant, Ron wheezed. Jungle, because sand last time wasn't bad enough. Harry pushed up. His clothes weren't his. Khaki, holster, fingerless gloves. His frame felt wrong. Too tall, too heavy in the shoulders. When he flexed, muscle he didn't own bunched and held. A label on his shirt pocket spelled it out in clean block letters. Dr. Xander Smolder Bravestone, archaeologist. Great, he said flatly. Ginny blinked down at herself. Compact vest. Light bow across her back. Quiver clipped at the hip. Franklin Mouse Finbar, zoologist. She snorted. Mouse? That's rude. Hermione stared at her arms. Bare, roped with lean muscle that wasn't normal for her. Red tank. Fingerless gloves. Golden nunchucks at her belt. Ruby roundhouse martial arts. She flicked her eyes up, calm and wild at once. Okay, I can work with this. Ron looked down and made a face that landed somewhere between horror and disbelief. Hawaiian shirt, short trousers, sturdy boots, a chunky field satchel and a battered boombox strapped across his chest. Professor Sheldon Shelley Oberon, many sciences. He touched his stomach. Oh, that's just bloody perfect. A soft glow tugged Harry's attention to his forearm. 3 thin bars, pale green and clean, sat under the skin like a charm had been embedded there. They pulsed once and settled. Life counters, Hermione said, voice thin. 3 each. Why are mine glowing? Ron asked. Because you're alive, Ginny said. Leaves parted ahead. A man in a waistcoat and ridiculous hat stepped out, smile bright and fixed. Ah, there you are. He tipped his hat. Nigel Billingsley at your service. Welcome to Jumanji. Harry didn't lift his wand. Not yet. Explain. Nigel's smile didn't change. You have 3 lives. Lose one, you come back at the nearest stone shrine with a sore head and a bit of fuzz in your memory. Lose the last, you're out. He pointed up. 3 jade lanterns hung where there shouldn't be a ceiling, nested among broad leaves. They lit in sequence. You must return the jaguar's eye to its altar before the volcano's 3rd weep. 1 lantern dimmed and brightened, as if breathing. Magic works here, but not the way you like it. Small charms, fine. Big shields, big blasts, big changes, expensive. How expensive? Harry asked. 1 life, Nigel said, still cheerful. Immediately. Convenient, Ron muttered. Nigel glanced at Ginny. Navigator. You can smell the right path if you say it. Zoologist, you know the beasts. Roundhouse, you fight on instinct. Oberon, you read the world. Bravestone. He tipped his hat at Harry. You climb, you hold, you lead. And Mr. Bravestone? There's a penalty if you pretend you don't need anyone. Harry's jaw worked. Noted. Right, Nigel said. Mind the spiders. Toodaloo. He flickered and was gone, the leaves bouncing once as if something had walked through them. Spiders, Ron said. I hate this place. A thick beam groaned above. Harry looked up. The support branch split with a dry crack. Dark shapes crawled along it, clustered tight. A clear droplet fell and smoked on the leaf litter. Back, Ginny said. Harry's wand was in his hand before the thought finished. Protego. Nothing formed, not even a shimmer. The air ripped heat through his arm. Pain shot under his skin. One of the bars on his forearm dimmed, then steadied. Disorientation hit hard and fast. His vision swam. Harry! Hermione caught his elbow. Don't spend lives on shields. Didn't, he swallowed. Got it. The beam snapped. A clump hit the mud. The spiders were thick as his palm, black and hard, fangs wet. They moved fast. Roundhouse, disarm, Hermione said through her teeth, and she was moving before she finished the word. A spider leapt. She dropped low, slid on one knee, and cracked a nunchuck across its body. Shell split. It stopped moving. Navigator trail, Ginny called, eyes sweeping, nose lifting. Hear that? Low left. Water under the ground. Firmer. She arrowed to a shallow rise where mud didn't suck as hard. Harry kept his wand down and hands up. Low cost. No big spell. He snatched a branch, snapped it clean, and used it as a baton. Swing. Crunch. Legs twitched and stopped. Ron wheezed. Color high. Air. Any chance these ones are friendly? No, Hermione said, kicking one into another without looking. And chance of these being friendly, not chance these ones. Thanks, Professor. Ron shot back, breathless. A spider launched for Harry's face. He ducked, felt air across lashes, and slammed it sideways with the stick. Chitin popped. He hated the sound. Watch the spit, Ginny said, drawing and loosing in one motion. The arrow planted a spider mid-lunge and pinned it to a root. She didn't look pleased. That one hissed. They fought messy because there wasn't time to be clean. Boots slipped. Mud sprayed. The world narrowed to weight, angle, hit, breath. A spider landed on Ron's shoulder. He yelped and flung the boombox into it by accident. The box took the impact, spider crushed, a dent blooming in the metal. Nice, Harry said, short and rough. Ta, Ron said, panting. Not how I planned to DJ. More, Hermione warned, eyes flicking to the right. Listen. A wet clatter came from the tree roots. Bigger bodies moved under the tangle. The hair on Harry's wrist stood up. Keep moving, Ginny said. Trails this way. Navigator, trail. She tapped her nose and pointed with her bow. Smell changes. Less rot. Slight ash. They shoved through a curtain of vines. The ground underfoot firmed. The spiders thinned, then swarmed again from a different angle. Harry's head was clear enough now to think through pain. Don't spend a life. As Hermione left. Ron, behind me. On it, Hermione said, already there, nunchucks a blur. She moved like the body knew what to do before she decided. No flerisc. Direct hits. Joints. Heads. Ron coughed and wiped sweat with his forearm. Brilliant. Jungle warms you up quick. Hydrate, Hermione said automatically, even as she cracked another shell. Got any water in that lecture? Ron said, but he fumbled out a canteen and took a gulp. He wheezed. Tastes like a pond. Better than dying, Ginny said. Not by much, Ron said, but he drank again. The swarm thinned. Harry's forearms shook from grip strain. He forced his hands to loosen. His heart thumped hard in his throat. Regroup, he said. Fast. They stumbled into a wider patch that passed for a clearing. Vines looped from a trunk where a stone slab had sunk into the mud. The slab had carving on it, mostly buried. Hermione was already down on a knee. Wait, Ron said, breath-catching. He set the boombox down, wiped his hands on his shirt, and squinted. That's not random. Those chips mean something. Be careful, Ginny said, scanning the edges. Ron scraped mud with his fingers. Symbols cut by wind and time showed through. It's not runes. Looks like, no, hang on, these marks repeat with the breeze. It's a map. Serpent's gaze. He tapped a curve. See that ridge? Head like a cobra. That way. He pointed without looking up. Hermione leaned in. You got that fast. Cartography, Ron said. He tried for a shrug and winced instead. Apparently I'm good at reading rocks now. He gave a thin grin. Mum will be thrilled. Good work, Harry said. He meant it. Ron heard it and stood a fraction straighter. Branches rattled. Hottie spoon. A spider the size of a dog dropped hard from the canopy and hit him chest on. The air left his lungs. He went down on his back, mud cold under his neck, legs kicking for purchase. Fangs scythed past his cheek. Get off. Ron slammed the boombox into the spider's side and only knocked it a hand's width. Don't spend, Hermione started. I'm not, Harry ground out. He grabbed the thing under the front segment and shoved up with strength that felt borrowed. The spider's weight fought him. His mouth opened. He smelled acid. Roundhouse hook, Hermione said, and her heel smashed the spider's eye cluster. Skittered sideways, stunned. Ginny planted an arrow into the joint where leg met body. The shaft sank to the fletching. The spider jerked and went still. Harry lay there one heartbeat and then rolled to a knee. Thanks. Next time, duck faster, Ginny said, trying to look stern, failing with relief still on her face. Noted. Hermione lifted the slab corner with both hands and a grunt. Look, etching. The lines were clean despite age. A small figure, a shrine, a swirl around it, and 3 bars above a forearm. Under that, a shallow groove that looked like a path curving from rock to rock. Respawn, she said. Nearest stone shrine. Memory static. Soreness. Great, Ron said. So dying hurts and you come back confused. Nice game. Let's not test it, Harry said. He pushed to his feet. His vision steadied. The docked bar on his arm glowed duller than the other two. "Harry," Hermione said, catching his eyes, "you cannot keep throwing shields at everything. The rule is clear." "I heard it." "Good," she said, "because if you lose another life in the first hour, I will—" "Correct my grammar again?" Ron said. "I will throttle you," Hermione said sweetly. Ginny snorted. Leaves whispered. Not wind. Bodies. Heavier than spiders. On the far side of the clearing, under a tangle of hanging roots, something padded once and went still. "Time to move," Ginny said, voice low. "Which way?" Harry asked. Ron pointed. "That ridge. Serpent's Gaze." "Navigator Trail," Ginny said, eyes half closed as she breathed in. "There's a faint sulfur thread. Ash on the air. It's fresher there. That matches the ridge run." "Go," Harry said. "Hermione, you're on point for traps. Ron, you call out symbols. I'll—" His bar flickered. A little warning pulse. He swallowed pride that rose out of habit. "I'll carry when needed. Say it loud." Hermione nodded once. "Good." "Loud is my thing," Ron said, and he tried a grin that didn't quite land. "Oi, jungle, we're coming through." "Quiet," Ginny said, amused despite herself. They slipped into the trees. The heat wrapped around them and didn't let go. Sweat ran into eyes. Shirts stuck. Mud sucked at heels and released with rude sounds that would have made third-years giggle. Every plant had teeth or thorns or a grudge. "Left," Hermione said, stopping so fast Ginny bumped her. She crouched. A thin cord of vine stretched across the path at ankle height. "Trip line." "Roundhouse disarm," she said, and pinched the line just so. The vine sagged, a dart mechanism in a stump side, and didn't fire. "There." "Good," Harry said. "Better than a dart in your calf," Ron said. "That's a grim souvenir." "Grimmer," Hermione said. "Comparative." "Thanks, Miss Dictionary," Ron muttered, but there was no bite in it. They crossed a narrow stream. The water was clear but tasted metallic. Harry let it touch his mouth and spit it out. "Don't." Ginny rinsed her hands instead and wiped them on her shorts. "It stings." "Poison traces," Hermione said. "My weakness. Not testing that." "Then don't get bitten," Ron said. "Top strategy." Branches shifted overhead. A slick hiss rolled through leaves. Everyone froze. "Not a snake," Ginny said, and her shoulders eased a hair. "Leaves, spiders again. Smaller." "Keep moving," Harry said. "Slow." They did. Foot by placed foot. The jungle tried to say no. They ignored it. Time stretched. The heat never broke. Even the shade burned. They reached a rise where the trees thinned. Beyond, the ridge curled into a shape that didn't happen by accident. A cobra's hood in stone, facing west. Against the horizon, a volcano hunched. A low cough came from its side. Smoke drifted. One of the jade lanterns above the canopy clicked and went dark. "First weep," Hermione said quietly. "Love that," Ron said. "Really puts you at ease." Brush moved to their right. Not scuttle. Not skitter. Wait. Several. Harry lifted a hand for stillness. Ginny already had an arrow half drawn. Head tilted, mouth tight. Ron leaned a little into Harry without meaning to. "Harry," he whispered, "please say that's just pigs." "It isn't," Ginny said. Harry's sentences got shorter when the pressure went up. "Eyes open. No big spells. Stay close." The brush bowed in 3 places. Something breathed. Hot. Bit. The sound vibrated in Harry's ribs. He glanced at his arm. 2 bars bright. 1 dull. He pulled Ron a half step behind him and raised his hands. "Whatever it is," Ginny said, voice low and steady. "I've got the first shot." "On my left," Hermione murmured. 2 more on the ridgeline. The bush at 10 o'clock shivered. Harry set his feet. The leaves parted. The brush split. Not cats. Not boars. Baboons. A dozen at least, gray-brown bodies, black faces, sharp eyes that didn't blink. The big male on a log bared teeth and bounced once. "Don't," Ginny said, steady and low. She eased her bow up. "Smooth draw. No rush." Harry kept his wand down. No big spells. The troop fanned, hoots sharp and fast. Two juveniles rushed, slapped the ground, and skittered back, testing distance. "We're not food," Ron said, trying for light. "We're takeout with wands." "Shoo," Hermione said, breath tight. The big male stepped forward. Ginny held his gaze and shifted the arrowhead an inch left. A warning line, not a threat. The male thought about it. He yawned, showed the long canines, then flicked his head. The troop peeled away, not scared, just done. "Good," Harry said. Short, clipped. "Nice and easy," Ginny murmured, lowering the bow. "They just wanted to see if we'd flinch." "They can have my flinch," Ron muttered. "I'm generous." A mark glowed on a tree trunk beside them. Clean green lines like chalk drawn by light. Nigel's neat hand crossed the flats before the second weep. Hermione read it under her breath. "Flats. Open ground." "Sun," Ginny said. Ron squinted past the trees. The jungle thinned toward a wide pale strip, heat shimmer wobbling above it. "Oh, lovely. A frying pan." "Move," Harry said. "Navigator, shade route." Ginny took a breath through her nose, eyes narrowing. "I've got microshadows. Rocks. Termite mounds. It's thin, but it's there." "Roundhouse tempo," Hermione said. "We march on a count. Even steps. No sprints." "Bravestone carry," Harry said, to mark it, even if he didn't need to yet. His forearm bars stayed the same. Two bright, one dull. They broke the last of the cover and stepped into the flats. Heat hit like a door, climbed into the back of the throat and sat there. Air moved but did nothing. Sand dragged at ankles, fine and dry, then packed in waves that pretended to be firm and weren't. "Keep breathing," Ginny said. "Short, in through your nose." "Save the tips for your Quidditch column, love," Ron said. He tried to grin, fell off his face. "Kidding." "I'm kidding." By the third dune, his face was a raw red. He coughed, dry scraping. His steps went off. He dragged the left foot, then both. "Water," Hermione said. Harry lifted his wand. "Aguamenti." A thin thread dribbled out. Not a jet. "No te venapur." He caught it on a strip of cloth, soaked it as best he could, and pressed the cloth into Ron's hand. Neck, forehead. Ron wiped and swore softly. "That's all." "Free charm," Hermione said. "All we get." Ginny's eyes tracked the ground like a hound's. "Navigator, shade route," she called again, and threaded them through small shadows that did almost nothing but were better than nothing. "Roundhouse tempo," Hermione said and set the cadence. "Left, 2, 3, 4, right, 2, 3, 4. Small steps. Don't fight the sand. Let it move." "Bravestone carry," Harry said when Ron's knee buckled. He slid under Ron's arm and took the weight for 6 counts, then set him down. The avatar strength came hot and easy for a burst, then left a tug of fatigue behind, like a wrap pulled off too hard. He breathed through it. They didn't talk much. Breathing was work. Walking was work. Thinking about walking was work. A thin, cold pressure pricked the back of Harry's neck. Not wind, not sweat, different. A line of words, not his, slid into his head and sat there. "They'd be safer without you." He blinked it away and kept moving. Ginny flinched, a tiny muscle in her jaw. "You follow because you can't lead." Hermione's eyes flashed. "You like being right more than being kind." Ron swallowed hard. "They pity you." No speeches followed. No booming laugh. The pressure eased. The thoughts left residue anyway. Anyone feel that? Harry asked, voice thin. Yep, Ginny said. We ignore it. Good plan, Ron said. I love being insulted by trees. Not trees, Hermione said. Keep your feet under you, Ron. Ron, you're dropping your right again. He corrected. 10 steps held. Then the sun ate the correction and he sagged. They found 3 thigh-high rocks and paused in their whispers of shade. Harry soaked another strip, pressed it to Ron's neck. Sip. Ron took a mouthful and coughed again. Tastes like a hot kettle. Drink, Hermione said. I am, Ron snapped, then winced. Sorry. It's fine, Harry said. It's not fine, Hermione said, but she left it there. They pushed off again. Heat crawled up their legs and lived behind their eyes. By the time they reached the broken pillar, Ron was white around the mouth under the red. The pillar gave a slice of shadow that felt like a gift. They slid in and collapsed against it, backs to stone. 2 minutes, Ginny said, watching the sky. No more. The flats will kill us if we sit. Harry nodded and turned to Hermione. We need to talk. Quick. About what? She said, though she knew. About him, Harry said. He kept his voice low. About all of it. She pushed hair off her forehead. Her hands shook. I know. I'm aware. Before you say it, I shouldn't have said discipline like that. It sounded accusing. It was, Harry said. A bit. It wasn't meant to be, she said fast. He hears lazy every time anyone says, focus. That's on us. She stopped, frustrated. I fall into teacher mode because it's how I fix things. It doesn't fix him. Harry looked over at Ron. He had his eyes closed, breathing loud and shallow. The cloth on his neck steamed. He hates that I pass things, Harry said. He doesn't say it. I can feel it. Everyone hates that you pass things, Hermione said, dry and true at once. It isn't fair to you either. You've failed at plenty, Harry, you just don't talk about it. He shrugged. I don't like talking. Understatement, she said. She glanced over. You see how he's looking at the sand? That's not him choosing to give up. That's his body telling him no. It's endurance, capital E. It's coded. I know, Harry said. I still get annoyed. Then I feel like rubbish for it. Same, she said. And, fewer, by the way. What? Fewer sprints. You said no more sprints earlier. It's fewer. She winced at herself. Sorry. Habit. Ignore me. He snorted. Can't. It's loud. Harry, she said softer. He's going to hear the worst version of us in his head before this is over. That probe before? It's coming back harder. I know. So we need to be very careful, she said, with what we say, with how we say it. We'll try, he said. His throat felt raw. He swallowed. We should move. Ginny checked the sun. Up. They pushed off the stone and went back into it. By the 4th push, Ron's footwork went sloppy again. Hermione kept the count anyway. Left. 2, 3, 4. Right. 2, 3, 4. Head up. Small steps. Don't lock your knees. Breathe. Lecture me to life, Ron said, breath ripping the words. Go on. Gladly, Hermione said. You are keeping the wrong muscles tense. I'll relax at my funeral, he said. Not happening, Ginny said. Keep your eyes on the darker patches. Those are cooler. They crested a low dune and the ground trembled under Harry's boots. Not a big shake. A shiver. He looked down in time to see the sand around Ron's boot shift like a living skin. Stop, Harry said. The ground popped. Scorpions. Small ones. Sand-colored. Fast. They came out of their own holes, tails up and forward. One reached Ron's ankle as he jerked back. Another went for Hermione's calf. A third skittered across Harry's boot and vanished. "Move!" Ginny yelled. Fighting in sand was worse than in mud. Every step lied. Harry planted and slid and planted again. He kicked one off his boot and stomped. The crack was small but sharp. Another rushed his other foot. He stamped too late. The tail grazed leather and scraped off. Hermione brought a nunchuck down on one, then another, then lost balance when sand slid under her. A scorpion flicked its tail and clipped her just above the sock line. The sting was fast. She hissed and stumbled. "Hermione!" Ginny snapped. "Don't scratch." "I know," Hermione said, already wheezing. "Dizzy. I feel." Ron swore and swung the boombox like a club, thumped into one, then two, then dragged through sand and threw grit into the air. "Back off." "Navigator, shade route," Ginny called, using the cadence to keep herself steady. She loosed an arrow at a scorpion that popped straight at Harry's shin and nailed it clean, the little body pinwheeling into a drift. Harry's hand went for a shield on instinct, the wrongness in his arm before he even said the word. He stopped himself. "Help," he said instead, hard and plain. "Hermione, left. Ginny, my right." "Roundhouse clear," Hermione said, voice tight, and she chopped three fast, efficient arcs that smashed tails and left bodies twitching. She didn't overextend. She couldn't. The world tilted for her. She gagged and swallowed hard. "On your right," Ginny said. Arrow. Crack. Another. Crack. "Keep your legs moving. Don't let them get a clean shot." A third wave crawled out. 10. 12. Too many to count and not get stung. "Bravestone, carry," Harry said, and shouldered Ron for 3 savage steps while stamping scorpions under both boots. He didn't look at what he was crushing. He didn't need to. Ron shoved off him and swung the boombox again, jaw clenched. "Come on then." "Up slope," Ginny said. "Harder for them. They slip." They crabbed sideways, scorpions chasing in a line that kept breaking. The slope did the work Ginny promised. Half the swarm slid out and lost speed. The rest reached air that the sun had baked to a crisp and slowed too. Hermione crushed the last one in reach and bent double, hands on knees. She didn't vomit. Not yet. Her eyes were wrong. Too wide. Skin too pale under the red. "Sit," Ginny said, already down. She yanked a small pouch from her belt, thumbed through flat leaves that smelled bitter and wet even in the heat, and pressed 2 into Hermione's hand. "Chew. Don't swallow big. Small." Hermione chewed. She gagged and threw up bile anyway, quick and ugly and done. She wiped her mouth with the back of her hand and nodded. "Better." Ron sat hard on the slope, breathing like a bellows. His hands shook. The boombox rested against his thigh at a wrong angle. We done," he panted. "For now," Harry said. He looked at Hermione's leg. "Show me." She lifted the sock. The sting was a red dot that pulsed around the edges. No deep swelling yet. "Ping only," she said. "Not a full hit." Her voice was clinical to keep it from shaking. Ginny wet another cloth with the weak trickle from Harry's wand. Pressed it to the skin. "It'll steady, not cure." "I know," Hermione said. "Thank you." Harry kept the urge to apologize in his throat. It wasn't helpful. "We need cover," he said. "We can't do another swarm out here." Ron blinked grit out of his eyes and squinted into the distance. He swallowed. "Hang on." He put 2 fingers to his temple like it would help him think and scanned the dunes and the low rock stubs sticking up in lines. They're not random. See the way the winds cut along the faces? It makes arrows if you're above them. He pointed, hand wobbling. "There. That's a wind culvert. Low trench. Shadow. Maybe a roof section collapsed and made a tunnel." "Oberon markers," he said to seal it. He was allowed to take credit for what his brain suddenly knew. "Go," Harry said. They angled right, kept the pace Hermione set, and reached a shelf that hid a low cut through the flats. Cool air seeped up from the trench. Shade pooled. Ginny dropped first, checked both sides and waved them down. Ron made it down the lip and his legs gave up. He sat and then tipped. Harry caught him by the shirt and eased him to the wall. "Hey," Harry said. "Stay with us." "I am," Ron said, eyes sliding. Just having a nap with my eyes open." "No naps," Ginny said, kneeling on his other side. "Short sips." He took one. It dribbled down his chin. He laughed once and then winced. "I'm funny," he said, and hated how it sounded. Hermione leaned against the rock and pressed the cool cloth to her own neck. She watched Ron's lips go a shade too pale. "Talk to us." "I'm here," he said again, but the words came loose. I'm a joke, you know?" Harry's stomach pulled tight. "You're not." "I am," Ron said. The heat had unspooled his filters. Or Voss had. Or both. "Spotlight's always on you too. Which fine. I clap. I clap all the time. I clap like an idiot." He swallowed. His eyes didn't quite line up. "I'm always second. Or fifth. Or backup. If there's a line, I'm holding coats." "Ron," Hermione said, voice soft, careful. "Stop. That's not true." "It is," he said. "None of you need me. You like me. You don't need me." His mouth twisted. "I brought a boombox to a jungle." "You also brought cartography," Harry said. "And you got us here." "For now," Ron said. He shut his eyes. "I'm so tired. Everything in my head keeps saying I'm wasting air. That I should just sit down. Let the two of you do it properly." "That's not you," Hermione said, quick. "That's the pressure. The curse. I'm going to be clinical for a second because it helps me. Your avatar has a coded endurance weakness. The sun is amplifying it. You are not weak." Ron huffed, a rough half-laugh. "Say it louder. Maybe I'll believe it." "I will," she said. "I'll say it until you're bored of hearing it." "Already bored," he said, cracked and small. Harry pressed his palm to Ron's shoulder. "Look at me." Ron opened one eye. "Yeah." "I need you," Harry said.
No de Kerashin. No joke.
"I don't know the rocks. I don't hear the wind. I don't see the double meanings on the slabs. I swing and I shout. You read the world. I can't do that." Ron's throat worked. "Say that again." "I need you," Harry repeated and meant it. "Both of us do." "Me too," Hermione said. "And fewer naps. Not less." That got a real laugh from Ron. Small. Real. Bossy. "Yes," she said. "Drink." He did. 2 small sips. He breathed. The shakes didn't stop. They slowed. Ginny's head lifted. She sniffed once. Eyes to the horizon slit. Storm building. Harry craned up. The line of the world had changed. A brown wall was rising, slow and wide, from the far side of the flats. It didn't move like clouds. Crawled like an animal. The volcano coughed. A dull boom rolled out. Somewhere above the canopy behind them, a second jade lantern clicked out. "Second weep," Hermione said. She swayed a little and put a hand on the wall.
I'm okay.
"It's the sting." "How long do we have?" Harry asked. "Not long enough," Ginny said. "We need to be in that culvert fully when it hits or it peels us raw." "Can he walk?" Harry asked. Ron tried. His legs trembled and went useless from the knee down. "I'm not your best walker right now." "Right," Harry said. "Bravestone, Carrie." He got under Ron's arm again. Weight settled. Strength surged and then ebbed wrong at the edges, but he held. Hermione left. "You good?" "I'm fine," Hermione said, lying. She blinked hard.
Roundhouse. Tempo.
Small steps. "We move. Now." Ginny slid ahead and touched the wall as she went, counting under her breath. "Navigator, shade route. Keep your faces down when the first wind hits." I shut. Cloth up. "Harry, when I say drop, you drop." "Copy," Harry said. They moved as a knot. bodies close, feet shuffling to keep balance. The culvert dipped and turned, rock lining the sides like ribs in the earth. The air cooled by 1 degree, felt like rain after drought. A thin chime sounded, too neat to come from wind. Soft, sweet, ding. Ginny's step hitched, just 1 beat. Her eyes slid a fraction to the right, toward a brighter patch that wasn't shade. "Hey," Harry said, clean and loud. "With me." She blinked and swore under her breath. "Thanks. That one was sharp." "I heard it too," Hermione said. "I'm going to break that toy when we find it." "Permission granted," Ginny said. They tucked into a bend where the wall rose higher than their heads. Not a cave. Enough. "Here," Ginny said. "This is the best we're getting." Harry eased Ron down. Ron's head lolled and then snapped up. "Mup." "I know," Harry said. Wind hit the flats like a train. They heard it before it reached them. A far, low growl that became a hiss and then a roar. Fine sand lifted and ran. The first push came into the culvert in a sheet and knifed over them. Even in the partial cover it stung skin and turned teeth gritty. Everyone ducked and pulled cloths up over noses and mouths. "Eyes," Ginny said. "Shut." They did. Sand worked into everything anyway. It found cuffs, seams, hairlines, the corners of eyes, the edge of a cut at Harry's wrist. He kept one hand on Ron and the other on the rock. "Breathe," Hermione said. "Small. Slow." The storm didn't care. Pushed. It shook grit loose from stone. It rattled the culvert's thin roof plates like old shutters. Hyenas started up somewhere out there. Not close. Not far. The sound was a laugh if laughing had teeth in it. Ron squeezed Harry's forearm. I'm up," he mumbled. "You're down," Harry said. "Stay down." "Bossy," Ron said. "Like her." "Like both of us," Ginny said. The wind climbed a notch. More sand poured past the mouth of their cut. The sky above the slit went brown. The light went the color of old tea. Hermione wiped her mouth again. Her face was lined with a tight set of muscles that said the sting still had hands on her. She kept her voice even anyway. "We hold here until the first push breaks. Then we move deeper. We can't get trapped against a collapse." "Agreed," Harry said. "Ron," Ginny said. "Talk to me." "What about?" he said. "Want a joke? 2 scorpions walk into a bar." "That's terrible," Hermione said. "It's all I've got," he said, and he smiled a bit, thin and stubborn. Another chime tried the edge of the culvert. Soft and neat. Ding. Ginny's fingers twitched. She pressed them into her thigh hard enough to leave marks. "Not today." "Not any day," Harry said. The wind found a new pitch, higher, louder, nearer. "Down," Ginny said. "Now." They flattened as a wall of sand hit the culvert mouth and tried to come in. Piled and slid and hissed like hot water on stone. The air went so dry the back of Harry's throat felt like paper tearing. He stayed down and counted his breath. 1, 2, 3, short, 4, 5. Hyenas laughed again, closer. Ron's hand found Harry's sleeve. "If I pass out, don't leave me, yeah?" "Shut up," Harry said, and there was no heat in it. "We don't leave anyone." The storm kept coming. The second jade lantern was dead. The third would go at the next cough. The flats wanted them. The jungle behind them wanted them. The ridge ahead waited. "Hold," Hermione said, steady even with the shake in her hands. "Hold." The culvert vibrated like a throat about to speak. Outside, the brown wall thickened. Inside, Hermione swayed once, caught the wall, and set her jaw. Ron couldn't stand. The laugh out in the storm changed shape. It wasn't funny anymore. They braced for the next hit. "Navigator, shade line." Ginny's voice cut clean through the roar. She sprinted low along the culvert wall, hands skimming stone, eyes on the tiny strips of darker ground. The storm was inside the flats now, a brown sheet racing past the mouth of the trench. Sand hissed like kettles dumped on hot plates. Hyenas paced the lip, shapes flicking in and out. Their laughs rose, broke, and slid away when the wind slapped them. Here! Ron jabbed at the map he'd scratched with a stick in damp sand. Culvert bends left then splits. Take the narrow cut. Tucks into rock. Move, Harry said. Stay on her. Heads down. They ran bent double, cloths tight over noses, coughing anyway. Grit found teeth and the back of tongues. Every breath hurt. Ginny cut right into a black seam where two walls pinched. It was tight, high, and cooler by a hair. Hyenas tried to follow and peeled off when wind punched them sideways. One slid on its belly, scrabbled, and fled. Good, Harry said. Short, rough. The wind dropped a notch. Not quiet, less like knives. A soft blink lit a rock ahead. Nigel's rune. Serpent's gaze holds the key. Hermione wiped grit out of her lashes. Clear instruction. Thank you, convenient tree. Ron leaned both hands on his knees, breathing fast. He still read the land while he panted. Look at the cut marks along the right wall. That pattern repeats every 3 feet. It's pointing. He traced with a shaking finger. There, that spine. See the shadow? Cobra Hood. We follow the spine up. Oberon, markers. Let's go, Ginny said. They pushed out of the slit when the storm dipped. The culvert rose into broken shelves of rock that made bad stairs. The flats rolled behind them under a brown veil. The air still moved hard enough to pull hair, but it didn't flay skin now. Ash floated on the wind and landed on their shoulders in black flecks. The volcano across the basin threw up a cough and a red blink deep in its throat. The ridge shaped up into the cobra's hood as they climbed. The stone had lines that looked cut rather than weathered. Scored grooves ran like ribs from jaw to spine. Trap builders had a long day, Ron muttered. On your words, Hermione said, eyes on the ground. Darts. I can smell oil. They came to a low courtyard carved into the ridge. A golden cobra statue arched from the far wall, mouth open, fangs down. The stone floor between was a grid of plates, some smooth, some nicked. Don't step where the dust is even, Hermione said. It's been cleared by movement. Ginny knocked an arrow and kept her bow half drawn. I'm watching the mouth. Ron pointed with the boombox strap. Those slits in the walls? Darts. Those holes? Gas. That channel? Drop plate. Fun. Roundhouse disarm, Hermione said, muscle memory driving her hands before nerves could. She crouched and used a flat rock to press a plate by an inch. 2 slits side. A dart spit and clattered harmlessly, yellow liquid wetting the tip. Hermione grimaced. Poison. Don't get touched, Harry said. Sound plan, she said. They threaded a path. Left 3 plates. Straight 2. Right 1. Hermione tapped, pressed, stepped. Ginny called distances without looking down. Half a step. Now a full. Now hold. Harry went last, body between Ron and the courtyard edges. Ron's breath rasped. Sweat ran into his collar and down his chest. Under the shade of the ridge he steadied a bit, but his legs still fought him. They reached a shelf before the statue. The floor here was clear, a simple square with a stone plinth at the center. Carvings covered it. Harry bent, the statue moved. The cobra's hood shivered like a drum skin hit by a stick. Stone skin rippled. Gold dust shook loose and drifted. The mouth opened wider. A deep hiss rolled out and turned into a spit that hit the plinth and smoked. Back! Ginny snapped. The head came down fast. Hermione shoved Harry sideways with her forearm. The fangs hit stone and punched chips into the air. Proxy, Harry said. It's the proxy. The snake reared. His body was thicker than a cart. It wasn't just gold. Muscle bunched under plates where stone met sinew. The tail slid out from behind the statue and swept the floor. It hit Ron in the shins and knocked him sideways into Harry. Both went down hard. Up! Hermione barked. She was already moving. Roundhouse. She sprinted across the square and slid under the first tail sweep, palms down, feet up. The tail passed an inch over her back. She popped up, planted, and slammed a heel into the snake's lower jaw. The head rocked. She grabbed the jaw ridge and pulled herself onto the muzzle. The cobra snapped, flinging her. She tucked, rolled, and came up on one knee with nunchucks rattling in her hands. Hermione, right? Ginny called. Spit. Hermione threw her head left. Venom sprayed across the floor and sizzled where it hit. The stink was chemical and hot. Ginny shot the soft skin under the jaw. The arrow sank. The snake hissed and thrashed. Another! Harry yelled. I see it. Ginny snapped, loosed, and clipped the edge of the wound. More blood welled dark and slow. Not deep enough. Frequency, Ron said, scrambling to his feet. He fumbled with the boombox controls, pulse slamming in his throat. Oberon frequency. He hit a toggle, then a dial, then slammed a big square button. The box whined, coughed, and then pushed a low pulse into the stone. It wasn't loud. It was bone deep. The snake's body stuttered like someone had yanked a string under its skin. Yes, Ron said, breathless and surprised. He thumbed the dial. The pulse shifted up by a hair. The snake froze for half a second, then shook it off and went for the nearest thing that moved. Hermione. She met it. She didn't fight the head-on force. She cut at angles. 2 quick steps, weight over toes. Nunchucks cracked against an eye ridge. Crack again. A third hit along the jaw hinge. The snake turned to follow. She stepped onto the hood as it came down, slipped when grit skated under her boot, and had to jump early. She landed badly, rolled, and came up with a hiss of pain. Left coil, Ginny shouted from the flank. She sent an arrow into the top of a coil, trying to pin skin to stone. It bit and held for a breath. The snake ripped free. The tail swept again. Harry shoved Ron flat, then went over the tail with a half-step that wasn't pretty, landed, and kept his feet by brute force. Keep the pulses, he said to Ron. I'm trying, Ron said. He twisted the dial another notch. The floor sang. The snake's head wobbled. Ah! Don't get cocky, Hermione said, and then the head shot at her like a thrown spear. Harry moved. His body wanted to throw a shield. He knew what it cost. The mouth open and Hermione's leg half a step behind where it needed to be. The choice was a second long and already made. Protego! He shouted, and a clean, hard plane snapped into place in front of Hermione's chest. The impact rattled his teeth. The shield drank the bite and ripped the life out of his arm as payment. Heat shot up his bones. The leftmost bar on his forearm dimmed to dead. The other 2 flared and then settled. The world swung for a second, edges going soft. His ears rang. Harry! Hermione reached for him. He shook his head. I'm fine. Hold it. The shield cracked and vanished as if a switch had flipped. The snake recoiled, confused for a breath. Harry used the opening. Bravestone, hold, he said through his teeth. He grabbed the cobra under the jaw with both hands and took everything into his shoulders. The weight fought him like a falling beam. He dug boot heels into grooves in the floor and locked elbows. Muscle that wasn't his strained and held. Now, he yelled. Hit it. Hermione didn't waste the beat. She stepped in and pumped 3 fast strikes into the hinge where jaw met skull. Crack, crack, crack. Ginny's arrow shot past Harry's ear and buried in the soft triangle under the head. The snake spasmed. Ron hit the frequency again, 2 short pulses and a long one. The snake froze just long enough. Roundhouse hook, Hermione grunted, and her foot smashed the eye cluster. The snake whiplashed and then crashed, head slamming into the floor. A plate under the chin depressed with a stone groan. Everything stopped. Harry's hands slipped off the jaw. He staggered back, dizzy and hot. The room felt a half-second out of time. He bit down on bile and blinked hard to clear the blur. His life bars sat there, One bright, one dead. His skin buzzed. You okay? Ginny asked, already moving to cover. Fine, he said. Not fine. He kept standing anyway. The plate under the jaw clicked again. A small square in the plinth slid back. Inside sat a thick tile etched with lines. Ginny grabbed it and tossed it to Ron. He caught it by reflex and almost dropped it. The boombox swung and thumped his hip. It's a map, Ron said, eyes scanning. He wiped blood, snake blood, off the edge with his thumb. Path runs through a narrow ravine. Timing marks, breath signs. Serpent's gaze was the first lock. We're going in. Hermione crouched slow. The adrenaline left space for the sting that had clipped her in the flats to wake up. Her stomach flipped. She swallowed hard and lost it anyway, quick and dry. Ginny was there with water and leaves before Hermione could wave her off. Small sips, she said. Chew, don't gulp. I know, Hermione said, annoyed at herself for needing to be told, then softening. Thank you. Sit, Harry said. I am, she said, because arguing kept her grounded. She stretched her left leg out. The skin around the old sting looked angry again, as if the serpent's venom in the air had poked at it. Her hands shook when she lowered the sock. Herbs, Ginny said. Ron fumbled in his satchel and handed over a small wrap. She pressed green against the skin, then poured a thin line of water over it. Hold it. Hermione held it, her breath even by inches. I'm fine, she said after a minute, which meant she could stand without falling over. Lie, Ron said, but he grinned with it. But a brave one. Ginny glanced at Harry. 2 minutes. Then we move. If we stop, the storm eats the culvert. If we slow, the ridge eats us. Copy, Harry said. There was a narrow side alcove cut into the wall near the plinth, half hidden by a cracked column. It had shade and a ledge at knee height. In here, Harry said, just for a breath. They slid in. Ron stayed by the entrance with the boombox and the tile, head on a swivel. Hermione sat, back against stone, leaves held to her ankle, jaw set. Ginny sat beside Harry on the ledge, bow across her knees. She didn't lean into him. She didn't pull away either. Sand stuck in the sweat along her hairline. You burned a life, she said, quiet. I saw it, he said. You didn't ask us, she said, not angry, not soft. I didn't have time, he said. You did, she said. Half a heartbeat. It matters. Your bar is at 1. I know. Say it, she said. He breathed once. I should have shouted first. Good, she said. She worked her jaw and stared at the floor. I need to tell you something while we have a wall and not a moving death maze. Okay, he said. I did something after the war I didn't tell you, she said. I'm not looking for you to say it was fine. It wasn't fine. He waited. There was a bloke who used to come into the prophet offices, she said. He'd smirk when anyone said Caros. He wasn't brave. He wasn't even loud. He wrote little letters with little hints, and he liked that power more than anything. He started a rumor about a girl we knew. He got her demoted. She cried in the loo for 3 days. He laughed in the pub. Harry watched her hands. They were steady. Her voice wasn't. I asked around, she said. He wasn't Death Eater. He was the kind who warms their tea. He had a job at Magical Maintenance. He liked keys. He liked locked doors. I followed him. I watched him use the wrong door and steal things. He smiled when he did it. What did you do? Harry said. I cornered him in a corridor that didn't have a witness charm, she said. I took his wand. I told him to give the keys back and write a confession and stop. He laughed. She let out a small, ugly sound. I hexed him. Not bat bogey. Not a stunner. I used a hex Fred showed me once that he warned me not to use when I was angry. It locks the throat for a minute. Feels like drowning while you stand up. He went purple and he clawed at nothing and he cried and then he nodded. I let him breathe. I made him write the letter right there. I made him hand me the keys. I told him if he touched a door that wasn't his again, I'd make it last longer. Harry sat with it. The wind outside scratched along the ridge. Did he stop? He did, Ginny said. He left the ministry 2 weeks later. I don't know where he went. I didn't check. I didn't report it. I didn't tell you. I told myself I did it to protect people. I did it because I was furious and I wanted him to feel small. He took a breath and kept his voice low. I don't like that you were alone for that. I didn't want you to stop me, she said. That's the point. He stared at his hand. It was cut across the knuckles from holding a jaw that shouldn't exist. I'm angry for a minute, he said. Then I'm scared, mostly scared, that you'll do that here if the game pushes. That I will. That we'll get used to it. I'm not proud, she said. I don't need you to absolve me. I do need you to know what I do when I'm pushed, so you can pull me back if you have to. Okay, he said. You do the same for me. I will, she said. They sat with it. It didn't resolve. It wasn't supposed to. A cold line slid through all three of their heads. Not a voice. The shape of sentences that didn't belong to them. He will spend his last life for someone who won't thank him. Harry's jaw clenched. She prefers fear to love. Fear obeys faster. Slid through Ginny's mind in a tone she almost knew and didn't. Hermione flinched as a single idea cut clean. You'd rather be right than be kind. She set her teeth so hard her jaw clicked. The pressure faded. A soft chime answered it from somewhere in the stone. Ding. Ginny's head started to turn. It was tiny. It was enough. Oi, Harry said, like he had in the culvert. With me. She blinked, swore under her breath, and nodded. Hate that. Same, Hermione said. Ron stepped in, tile under his arm. He looked like a man who'd been in the sun all day and then thrown down a hill. He still smiled, thin and stubborn. Good news. Paths down the backside, narrow ravine. Timing marks line up with vent pulses. We go at dusk. We'll catch the breathing when the heat drops half a tick. Bad news? Ginny asked. He pointed at Harry's forearm. He's at 1. The ravine is not forgiving. And Hermione, you need to tell me if the sting spikes. It's steady, Hermione said. Don't use spikes as a noun. It's lazy. Bossy, Ron said. Accurate, she said, and pushed herself to standing. She was pale under the grime. She stood anyway. They stepped out of the alcove. The sky over the ridge edge had shifted. Less brown, more ash gray. The volcano boomed again, deeper. A skin of ash drifted down and settled on their shoulders like powder. Up in the green above the basin, the last jade lantern flickered like a bad candle. Don't, Ginny whispered to the sky, as if it cared. It died. The light in the jungle changed. Sounds pulled back. Birds that had shouted all afternoon went quiet. The air felt hotter though the sun had slid. Everything that wanted them waited. Speed matters now, Hermione said. We don't have the lantern buffer anymore. Then we move, Harry said. Stay tight. Call every step. They headed for the cut that dropped into the ravine. It was a slit you could miss if you blinked. Ron didn't blink. He traced the wind-carved arrows down the spine with his finger like a man following prayers. They reached the lip and looked in. Narrow, dark edges. The floor was not flat. It rose and fell in ripples, some regular, some not. Air breathed out of it in slow pushes that smelled like hot rock and old eggs. Breathing tunnel, Ron said. That's what the tile meant. We need to sync steps with the exhale so we don't get shoved into plates or walls. Roundhouse disarm, Hermione said. I'll call the plates. Ginny, you mark the weak spots if you see them. Ron, you call the pulses. Harry. Bravestone hold, Harry said. Ask for help before I spend. I know. Good, Hermione said. They started down. A shadow moved beyond the far ridge. Not baboon, not snake. 2 legs. broad shoulders. It watched. It didn't hurry. A voice touched them without sound. Calm, close, felt like someone breathed in their ears. Hurry along. The night is hungry. Ginny's skin went cold. Did you hear? Yes, Harry said. Ron swallowed. Fantastic. They stepped into the ravine as the next breath of hot air pushed out along the floor and the jungle sounds went thin, like someone turned a dial and cut the bass. Hot air pushed out of the ravine in waves. It hit their faces and stole breath. The light was thin now. The last lantern was gone. Sounds were sharp. Every scrape bounced off the walls and came back louder. Watch your feet, Hermione said. Snare roots. There. A thin root curled across the path at shin height. She pinched it, twisted, and laid it flat. Roundhouse, disarm. A dart slit winked on the left wall. She pointed. Don't give it a straight line. Ginny slid by, bow low. Navigator, decoy route, she murmured, running a gloved hand along the right wall to leave a clearer smear, then scuffing the floor with her boot. Tracks for later. Ron dragged a sleeve over his face. Sweat and grit made mud on his cheek. He breathed shallow and quick. Shade helped, but not much. How far? Not far enough, Harry said. His sentences were short again. He kept Ron between him and the safer wall and counted the hot breaths rolling past them. On the exhale. Move on the exhale. They scrambled over a lip that wanted ankles. A dart whispered out of a slit when Ron brushed a plate. Hermione hooked her nunchuck under the dart and flicked it away. It clanged and bled yellow on stone. Poison, she said. Obviously. Ta for the reminder, Ron muttered. The ravine widened into a carved space under the Cobra Ridge. A vestibule cut from the rock. Murals covered the walls. Jaguars with open mouths, men with masks, a volcano coughing lines into the sky. A stone lectern stood off-center, marked with wind-cut glyphs. The air in here moved in a steady pulse, like the place was breathing. Ron steadied himself on the lectern with both hands. He swallowed once, cleared his throat, and leaned in. Give me a second. Take two, Ginny said, keeping watch. Ron traced the grooves with a shaky fingertip. Not random, repeating cuts, pattern with a simple key. The letters showed when he looked at them the right way. Oberon cipher, he said, to fix it in his head. Name? Harry asked. Ron squinted and read aloud. Severin vos, ex unspeakable. Legilimens. Bound himself to the game, after his apprentices betrayed him. He glanced up, face tight. He feeds on doubt and coerced loyalty. Loves it. Terrific, Ginny said. So he's been waiting for someone like us. Hermione scanned the rest. He's not a voiceover. He's the engine. Bound anchors, plural. She swallowed. If we cut one, he leans on the others. If we cut the right one, he starves. Harry's jaw moved. Right? A stone disc sat in the floor near the far wall. For symbols around the rim. Two lit. A long path icon with a bent line and claw marks along it. Another with a straight cut and a stylized anchor. Between them, Nigel's neat rune glowed once. Choose. Ginny stared at the long path symbol. Path of return. That's the old Jumanji run. Long, hunted. You try not to die before dawn. Hermione pointed at the other. Path of hunt. Shorter. We go straight at his anchor. He won't like that. Yeah, Ron said dry. Which is probably the point. Nigel's rune blinked again. Choose. Silence held for 3 breaths. The air pressed hot on their cheeks. We can't take the long one, Harry said. Ron won't make a night run in open ground. Oh, brilliant cheers, Ron said. Love being the poster boy for collapsing. That's not what he said, Hermione snapped. It's what I heard, Ron shot back brittle. Stop, Ginny said. Harry planted his feet. We hunt. We finish it fast. Hermione's head came up. Fast isn't safe. Safe gets him killed, Harry said. Hunted all night? In this? With Voss pressing our heads? He'll peel us one by one. Don't talk about him like he's already a body, she said. He's a person. He's our best friend, Harry said, voice low. That's why I'm saying it. Hermione took a breath and let it out sharp. And what's your brilliant plan? Rush the anchor? Throw yourself at it? Spend your last life and leave us two to drag what's left? I'm not spending it, he said. You've said that before, she shot back. You always say you're not going to, and then you do. Because no one else can, he said. That is arrogant, she said, heat cracking through. And wrong. Ron winced and lifted a hand. Do we maybe not tear each other to bits with me right here? Ginny touched his sleeve. We're choosing the short path. We just need to make sure the way we pick it doesn't break us. Hermione folded her arms to stop her hands shaking. Harry, if we hunt, we don't do it your way unless your way includes consent and detail. No heroic lies. No, trust me, while you hide the worst bit. You pull that and I walk. You won't, he said. Try me, she said, flat. He looked at the disc, then at her, then at Ron's forearm, 3 bars bright under dirty skin. His own had one bright, one dead. Fine, he said. We bait him. On purpose. Hermione's eyes narrowed. How? I lower a clumency, he said. On purpose. Enough to leak a thought. I think about the eye being in a decoy nest down a side corridor. He hears it. He sends his toys. We spring a trap. No speeches to him, Ginny said. He sells with needles, not monologues. He'll sniff the bait if it smells like a plan. Then we keep it ugly, Harry said. We make it look like we're arguing even while we lay it. Ron raised a finger. I can run the lure. Oberon frequency to lay a pulse that pulls anything with a skull. Navigator, decoy route, Ginny said. I'll leave tracks, different weights. Make it look like we carried the eye and tripped over ourselves. Roundhouse disarm, Hermione said. I'll clear plates along the corridor we want them to rush. Keep the kill line clean. Bravestone climb, Harry said. He looked up at the ragged ceiling where boulders sat in an ugly balance. I set a rockfall pin. On the yank, the front comes down. Vines pull the side. We leave a lane to dive through. One detail stays in my head so Voss can't read it. Hermione's eyebrows lifted. No. If you're lowering shields, you don't keep secrets. That's rule 1. If I tell you the timing, he'll see it, Harry said, clipped. He's not reading only me. He's reading all of us when he spikes. She stared. I don't like it. I know, he said. I really, she started, then broke off, frustrated. Fine. But you promise me you pull help before you pull the pin. Out loud. You ask. I ask, he said. It almost stuck in his throat. He forced it out. I ask. Swear, Ginny said. I swear, he said. Ron rubbed the back of his neck. Right, let's do the scary teamwork thing then. They moved. No speeches. No grand plan written on a wall. Just hands and breath and small instructions. Harry climbed. He didn't think about how high. He wedged limbs into mean cracks and pulled himself up to a shelf where a slab leaned into nothing. He set a pin with a length of cord scavenged from Hermione's pack, tied a loop, then another, then a third. He tested it with a tug that hurt his shoulders. It held. Sweat ran into his eyes. He blinked it away. He lowered a clumency a hair and felt it immediately. A temperature drop behind his eyes. Prickle like standing in a draft. Keep it thin, Hermione called up. If you vomit, it's not my fault. Noted, he said. Below, Hermione ran on her knees, hands, and a flat stone. Roundhouse disarm. Tap a plate, listen, press and pin it with a wedge. Mark a safe line with chalk. Quick, precise, efficient. She moved like she was fixing a machine designed to kill friends. Ginny dragged her boots just enough to leave panic in the pattern. She pressed the heel of her hand into the dust at irregular intervals to fake drops. She leaned a shoulder into the wall where a bag might have slammed. "Navigator, decoy route," she said under her breath, to lock it in. Ron tuned the boombox. He turned the dial to a low pulse that made the lectern hum and the fine hairs on his arm stand up. Oberon, frequency. He clicked it off, then on, then off again to test how far the sound carried in this cut of rock. 2 beats pull, he said. Long beat holds. Good, Harry said. He lowered the cord and felt the pin sit exactly wrong, which meant it would sit exactly right when he yanked. He climbed down, dropped the last 4 feet, and hit hard. His knees complained. He ignored them. They took positions. Harry at the pin line, Hermione at the first safe bend. Ginny deeper, arrow half drawn, mouth tight. Ron by the lure with one hand on the dial, the other on the box's strap. Ready, Ginny said. No big spells, Hermione said, because habits save lives. Casual charms only. Lumos, Ron said, and the small light on the box flicked up to dirty yellow. Gives them a night light to chase. A shape flickered at the choke point up corridor. Not a baboon. Not a snake. A lean, upright thing with arms like blades, joints bent wrong. It sniffed the air, barked a laugh like the hyenas, and skittered forward. 2, Ginny said. Let them test it, Hermione whispered. They did. The first rushed. Hermione ducked and took a knee. The arm blade hissed past and sliced a braid of her hair. She twisted and smashed a nunchuck into the thing's knee. Crunch. It buckled. Ginny shot the hollow above the collarbone. The arrow punched through and stuck in the wall. The hunter went down like someone cut its strings. The second shrieked. It rushed, then stopped, then sniffed the air and ran back, screeching in a cadence that sounded like a message. Alert sent, Ron said. Great. Positions, Harry said. Now. He dropped occlumency another notch. The prickle pushed deeper. A cold line wrote itself behind his eyes. Your timing is lazy. They'll die before you pull. He breathed through it and let one thought float loose. Down the right. Under broken plates. We messed up the carry. We dropped it. We dropped it. He let panic sit under it. He let himself sound tired and sloppy. Lure, he said. Ron flicked the dial. 2 pulses. Low then higher. The floor buzzed. Stone plates shivered. From the far end of the corridor, things answered. Bodies thumped. Vines slithered like rope dragged by hands. Heavy shapes, apes, beat knuckles against stone and screamed. Go, Harry said. Ginny took 2 steps into the decoy line, dragging 1 foot, bow at half draw like she was trying to be fast and failing. This way, this way. The swarm hit the trap mouth as a tangle. Apes first, all teeth and arms. Vines poured over and through them, wrapping the safe edges and trying to make new lines. The corridor narrowed with bodies. Now, Hermione said. Wait, Harry said, because the front wasn't fully in the kill zone yet. She shot him a look. He held it. He counted 1, 2, 3 heartbeats. The first apes reached the chalk line Ginny had laid. The vines stretched across it like a net. Now, Harry said, and yanked the cord. The pin tore free. The slab groaned like it had been waiting to fall for a century and just needed permission. Stone let go. The ceiling came down in a dirty, grinding wave. Dust punched forward. Screams cut off. Bodies crunched. The first 2 rows of the swarm vanished in rock and sand and broken vine. Back! Harry shouted as the side buttress decided to go too. It kicked out and slammed down behind them, sealing the vestibule side with a slab the size of a cart. The corridor shook. The 4 scattered by reflex. Ginny! Harry coughed, blind in dust. Here! She shouted from the far side. I'm good. Bit pinned, no, I'm out. Hermione! Harry barked. I'm left. I'm here. Her voice was closer to panic than he liked. I can't see. I'm on a safe plate, but I don't know if the next is. Hold, he said. Don't move. Ron, Ginny called. Present, Ron coughed. Box took a knock. Still works. Regroup, Harry said, choking on grit. Small steps, check plates, talk your moves. Their way by hand, chalk lines under fingers, the sizzle-soft exhale of a vent. Ginny reached Hermione first, grabbed her forearm, and pulled her onto a mark she'd set earlier with the heel of her boot. Hermione sagged against the wall and breathed like she'd run stairs. Dizzy? Ginny asked, already digging for leaves. Only a bit, Hermione said, lying. The old sting pulsed with fresh heat. I hate admitting it. Chew, Ginny said. Small. Harry climbed over a chunk of stone and skinned his shin. He found Ron by the boombox's hum. You good? Fine, Ron said, which meant not fine. He blew dust out of his nose and spat. Trap worked. Sidewall getting in on the act was a laugh. Harry squinted at the sealed slab behind them. We lost our back exit. Little bit, Ron said. On purpose? Hermione asked, sharper than she meant, as the herbs took the edge off her dizziness. No, Harry said, not that part. Reckless, she said. It worked, he said. It bought us time. It also locked us in a corridor with a murder fan club and one life on your arm, she snapped. Hey, Ginny said. Not now. Harry looked at the dust settling on their shoulders. He made himself say it. I let him in, a little, so he'd buy the thought. That's how the lure bit. Hermione stared. You did what? Lowered a clumency, he said. I told you. Not that low. It was enough, he said. He's listening harder now, which means he'll commit troops to the next choke. Which means fewer at the anchor. You're not a chessboard, she said. You're not a... She broke off, breathing fast. Fine. We already chose. Next time, you ask before you open your head like a window. I asked, he said. It sounded weak to him. He hated that. Barely, she said. Then softer. Don't make me watch you drop. He nodded once. Okay. The corridor quieted. Nothing moved under the fall. A few vines twitched, then stilled. The air settled back into its hot push-pull. Ron wiped the tile clean with the edge of his shirt. Another slab set into the wall had survived the fall. He crouched and peered. There's more. Read, Harry said. Oberon, cipher, Ron murmured, and traced the cuts. Break the anchor where the jaguar watches the breath of the earth. Breathing tunnel, Hermione said. We were right. Inner shrine is ahead, Ron said, pointing down corridor. You can smell the vents from here. Rotten egg and hot iron. Lovely, Ginny said. They moved again, closer now because the stone wanted them apart. Hermione checked plates. Ginny marked edges. Ron kept the pulse on the boombox low, a background hum that made the apes think the corridor was still whining. Harry took rear and watched their six because his job was to be the wall. They reached a mouth cut into the rock like a throat. Air pushed out in timed bursts. 1, 2, pause. 1, 2, 3, longer push. Heat wet the backs of their throats. The floor grates here weren't decorative. They breathed with the vent. Line up, Hermione said. We go on the second beat. Wait, Harry said, head turning. Listen. A voice slid into them without crossing space. Calm. Close. Not loud.
Come closer, Harry.
His skin went cold against hot air. He's here. The boombox clicked on by itself. The dial turned with no hand. A chime bled out. Soft. Neat.
Exakt.
Ding. Ginny's eyes glazed like someone wiped them with frost. Her head turned toward a wrong fork that wasn't a fork at all, just a dark patch. Look at me, Harry said, both hands on her shoulders.
Oi.
With me. She blinked hard. Right. Sorry. Got it. Floor grates ahead clanked. The first two started to open, blades sliding back to show black gaps. Move or we're mince, Ron said, voice high for once. Positions, Hermione snapped. Second beat. Ready now. Hot air shoved. They stepped as a knot into the first slot and cleared it before it opened. The second slot clacked and started to drop under their heels. The tunnel pushed at their faces again. The voice brushed their minds one more time, patient as a man at a window. Come closer, Harry. The next grate jumped. The vent roared. They ran into it. Grates opened. Hot air blasted their faces. The boombox chimed neat and soft. Ding. Ginny's eyes glazed. Her head tipped toward a dark fork that wasn't a fork at all. Harry grabbed her shoulders. Look at me. Hermione snapped. Finite. Tight, clean cut of magic. Free. It snapped the shimmer across Ginny's eyes. Ron twisted the dial with a shaking thumb. Oberon counter-frequency. The boombox coughed, then pushed a flat note that killed the chime dead. Ginny blinked hard. Thanks. That one dug in. The vent kicked. The floor lurched. A side walkway sheared off with a crack and a rush of hot wind. Stone plates dropped away into black. Back! Harry shouted. Too late for Ginny. The next hot pulse hit the wall and turned. It lifted her feet like a hand. She slid. Her bow scraped stone. Harry! She reached. The wind took her. She vanished down a chute with a single clean scream. Ginny! Harry went after her without thinking. Don't jump blind. Hermione snapped. We drop on the next exhale. Count it. Air pushed once. Twice. Pause. Ron swallowed hard and wiped grit off his mouth. On two. Again. His voice shook. He made it steady by force. 1, 2, go. They dropped into the chute feet first. The rock was hot enough to burn through cloth. Harry slid, elbows tucked, wand out but low. No big spells. Grates snapped open and shut along the sides. Teeth in the walls. Blade roots whipped from seams trying to catch ankles. Left. Hermione shouted.
Plate, sheep.
Harry tucked and hopped the plate as it popped. A root sliced air where his boot had been. He hit the next lip hard and slid again. Hot air pulsed on account. It was like moving against a bellows. Every mistake shoved them back toward snapping teeth. Ron eyes, Harry said. Short. He was panting. His throat burned. I've got scorches, Ron said. Crouched in a pocket as the next push roared past. He pointed at black ticks on the wall. Little burn marks etched into the stone by old heat. See these? Every fourth line lines up with the long push. Safe step on 3. Move on 4. Oberon, markers. Good, Hermione said, already moving her hands. Roundhouse, disarm. She slapped flat stones over 2 small vents that would blast straight up into their faces. Temporary. We don't get a second try if these slip. Navigator, Harry said out of habit, and stopped because Ginny wasn't there. He swallowed hard. We find her. Ron, call the beats. 1, 2, 3, move. Ron went. They went with him. Harry slid under a grate as it clacked open and felt the metal teeth scrape the back of his boot. He didn't look down. Hot wind carried a wet stink. Old eggs. Burnt rope. Sweat ran into eyes and stayed there because there wasn't enough clean water left to rinse it out. A vent mouth ahead fired on a wrong count. Hermione shoved Harry sideways by his belt and took the edge of the blast across her shoulder instead. She grunted and kept going. Sorry, he said. Don't be stupid, she snapped, but the corners of her mouth pulled up for half a second. They hit a turn. A low grate snapped shut in front of them and then opened again half a beat late. The timing was off. Voss was playing with the rhythm to catch ankles and knees. He's listening, Ron said, breath raw. Hate that. Same, Hermione said. Small steps. On my count. Left. 2, Harry, your left. Not mine, 3, 4. Right, he said and corrected. A narrow walkway cut along the wall above a deeper channel. The iron smell got stronger. The heat came in pulses that shook dust off the ceiling. Above the walkway, blade roots hung slack between breaths, then snapped tight on the push. "Watch the ropes," Ron said. "They're not ropes." No time to answer. A razor-limbed hunter dropped out of a hole ahead and ran at them on bent elbows, blades for forearms. Another dropped behind. Constrictor vines slid over the rail and reached for ankles. The vent finished its pause and the next blast came heavy. "Down!" Hermione shouted, then moved. Tight space. No flerist. Every hit was small and mean. Nunchucks cracked against bone. She stuck to joints. Knee, elbow, jaw. The first hunter's head snapped sideways with a wet click. It staggered and still swung for her throat. She ducked, rolled her shoulder into the wall, and brought a heel up under its chin. Teeth cracked, fell into the channel and vanished. "Behind!" Harry barked. He went low cost. No shield. No big swingy curse. Depulso. A tight push at the second hunter's knee. It stumbled. He followed with a boot to the chest and a shove with both hands. It went over the rail. The vines caught it and squeezed. Bones popped. Another vine wrapped Harry's ankle and jerked. He hit the wall with his shoulder, lost the wand for a second, scrabbled. Found it. "Cut it," he snapped. Hermione turned and kicked the vine off with a short, angry noise. It hissed and pulled back. "More," Ron said. He wasn't wrong. 3 hunters climbed out of the wall holes like spiders. 2 vines came over the rail and got hands. "Stun the meat sacks," Ron said. "I'll deal with the music." "What?" Harry said. Ron ran straight at one of the hunters and slammed the boombox into the wall beside its head. "Oberon frequency." He hit the big switch with the side of his fist. The box dumped a harsh pulse that rattled fillings. The hunter froze. Vines twitched. The other 2 hunters jerked like puppets pulled wrong. "Ah!" Ron said, surprised at himself, then gasped because the effort ripped his lungs up. "Okay, that worked." A vine whipped around Harry's throat. It dragged him into the rail. Air cut off. The world narrowed fast and angry. His hands clawed at wood and slick green. He got fingers under it. Not enough. His life bars flared on his forearm. One bright, one dead already. No room to spend another. "Hermione," he tried to say, and it came out a scrape. He wasn't asking for style points. He was asking for help. Something hot and small snapped inside Hermione when she saw the vine tighten at his neck. Not logic. Not a plan. Fear. She didn't think. She turned, pointed, and shouted, "Confringo!" The blast went off like a slap from inside a metal drum. Short, violent. The vine exploded into hot sap and fibers. The rail shuddered. The wall shook. A slice of the walkway jumped and then settled crooked. The world went white at the edges for Hermione. Her ears rang. Her stomach flipped. She dropped to one knee and threw up bile. Her forearm bars flashed. 3 bright went to 2. The left bar dimmed to dead. The cost landed in her ribs like a punch she should have seen coming. "Are you mad?" Ron shouted over the ringing in all their heads, even as he grabbed Harry by the back of the jacket and hauled him clear. "That's a life." "I know," Hermione said, voice small and raw. Her hands shook. She wiped her mouth and spat again. He was choking. Harry crouched in front of her, fingers pressed to the red line on his neck where the vine had burned him. He didn't try to say thank you. He looked at her face. She looked back. They both knew what it cost.
"I'm fine, Shelit."
Her eyes watered. She sucked short breaths between her teeth. "Don't start." "I wasn't," he said, honest because there wasn't time for anything else. "I asked for help." "You did," she said. That small truth steadied her more than the herbs had. The hunters shook off the pulse. One came on all fours, fast and low. Ginny wasn't here to call lanes. Harry had to do it. "Left. Knee," he barked. Hermione moved on the call. Crack. The knee went sideways. The hunter collapsed. She finished it with a short, ugly smash to the temple. Ron swung the boombox into the second hunter's ear. Bone cracked. The third turned to run. A vine caught it and squeezed by mistake. It went limp in the plant's grip. Go, Harry said, voice ripped down to wire. We don't stay and make new friends. They ran. The next vent blast slammed them in the face. Harry's legs stuttered. Ron tottered and would have gone over if Harry hadn't jammed a hand into his belt. Bravestone, Carrie. Harry grunted. He took the weight for 4 steps through the push, ribs hot, throat burning. He set Ron down and almost dropped him. Sorry. It's fine, Ron panted. I'm fine. Keep going. The head pressure hit Harry so hard and sudden it felt like someone stuck a nail into the base of his skull. Flash cuts in his eyes. Not his memories. Ron's.
Fast. Sharp.
A jumper 3 sizes too big with sleeves rolled twice. Percy's old badge pinned on a sweater that wasn't really his. Fred and George laughing at a joke they loved him for and still used on him. A prefect meeting he wasn't invited to. Molly fussing over a pot and saying, "Not now, dear." To a question that mattered to a boy that day. Second. Spare. We got by without you for a year. A mirror. A face he didn't like. Harry swore under his breath and grabbed Ron's shoulder hard enough to bruise. Ignore it. Ron blinked. His mouth had gone tight like he was chewing glass. Trying. He shook his head once. Didn't need the bloody highlight reel. Keep moving, Hermione said, voice stronger than she felt. We're not giving him time to root around. Cut. Ginny alone. Heat in her nose and throat. The wind in the lower vents moved differently. It bounced. She slid on a panel slick with condensed mineral and caught herself with one hand as the next blast shoved past. Navigator, sense/echo, she said to herself, small and hard. She breathed in. Sulfur. Hot rock. A clean current underneath. Faint as a whisper. The right way had fresher air. She followed that. A soft chime slid along the wall. Ding. Her head turned. It wasn't a fork. It was a slick drop into blades. No, she snapped at herself, and put her shoulder into the opposite wall by force. Not having it. The next pulse tried to roll her. She ducked low, slid under a grate that opened too slow, came up with palms burned by hot metal and kept going. Don't be stubborn, she told herself, which made her huff once because she knew she was. Cut back. Down slope, Ron said, pointing. Look at the scorched ticks. 1, 2, 3, move. They moved. The walkway narrowed to a ledge over a channel of old lava cooled into hard black scabs. The air above it shimmered with heat. Ginny, Harry shouted into the next mouth. His voice came back broken. Save your breath, Hermione said, but her own voice slid up at the end on his name. She was scared. She kept moving anyway. Watch the plate. Ron put a hand out. Stop. He pointed to a set of tiny glyphs scorched into the lip of the ledge. This line here, it's counting. 1 long, 3 short. The long breath opens that grate there. We pass on the short after. How do you know? Hermione asked. Because I'm reading, he said, catching the swear because she'd scold him even now. And because it makes sense. Oberon, markers. Good enough, Harry said. Call it. 1, 2, 3 now. They went. The grate ahead fluttered and then clanged open behind them. They made the lip. Hot air tore the sweat off faces and left skin sticky anyway. A sound reached them. Not a chime. A noise people make when their hands are tied and something is pulling them. Ginny, close. They turned a corner and found a ledge that wasn't flat. It sloped and had cracks full of black crust. Ginny hung half over the drop, one leg braced on stone, the other tangled in a massive vine that had grown out of a crack and decided her ankle was a tree. Her bow lay just out of reach. A thin line of blood ran down her calf where bark had bitten skin. Them and swore with relief and anger mixed. Don't move, Harry said, which was stupid, because she obviously couldn't. Thank you, Ginny said, dry. I was about to dance. On it, Hermione said. She went low, palms flat, body weight over the center of the ledge. Ginny, don't kick at the vine until I say. Understood, Ginny said through teeth. Ron slid to the edge for a better angle with the boombox ready in case anything tried to help the plant. Harry went belly down and reached for the bough first, shoved it into Ginny's hand, then grabbed the vine with both hands. It was hot and wet and had a skin like old leather. Ready, Hermione said. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Ginny kicked hard. Hermione brought a nunchuck down like a hammer. Harry pulled. The vine tore in 3 places. Sap hissed and burned Harry's knuckles. He swore and shook his hands. The smell was sharp and nasty, like burned spinach. Again, Hermione said. Wait, Ginny said. There's a barbed coil under there. She put the arrow tip against the hidden loop and levered it up. Hermione hooked it with the nunchuck and wrenched. It snapped with a wet pop. The remaining coils loosened. Now, Harry said. He hauled her up by the belt and shoulders. Ron grabbed her forearm and leaned back with all his weight. Ginny rolled onto the ledge, panting, and lay there a second with her eyes shut. Okay, Hermione asked. Ginny opened her eyes. Fine, don't touch my ankle. It's angry. She looked at Harry's hands. You burned yourself. He shook them out. They'll heal. You always say that, she said. Because they do, he said. Ron looked at the next section of ledge. It was worse. It sloped and split into plates with gaps between. The vents here were strong enough to rattle teeth. The push came hard and then harder. This is dodgy, Ron said. We'll get peeled off one by one if we go stupid. Agreed, Hermione said. Harry looked down the line and felt the old reflex twitch in his hands. Big shield. Stop the wind. Smash the plates into place. Take the cost. He kept his mouth closed. He swallowed the spell before it got far enough for the game to take payment. I'm not soloing this, he said, loud enough that it counted. Help. Talk me through. Chain it. Good, Hermione said, with a quick look that was approval and relief. Roundhouse, disarm. I'll clear the worst plates. Ginny, you mark safe steps. Navigator, route. Oberon markers, Ron said, pointing out the scorched ticks again. 3 short, 1 long. We go on the second short and run the last gap on momentum. Bravestone, hold, Harry said. I take middle. If someone slips, I catch. Positions, Ginny said. She tied a strip of cloth above her ankle to stop the sting sweat from running into the cut. Let's move before I start thinking. They went as a knot. Hermione went first by half a step, tapping plates with the flat of the nunchuck and wedging small stones under 2 that wobbled. Ginny moved behind her, marking the safe edges with fast, hard heel stamps like punctuation. Ron called the breaths. 1, 2, go. Harry kept his hands low and his body ready to be a wall. A plate cracked under Hermione's foot. She jumped to the next with a small, sharp noise. That was rude. Add it to the list, Ron said, breath thin. Ginny's ankle tried to fold. She hissed and didn't swear only because she needed breath. Harry grabbed her elbow for 2 steps and then let go when she had it. Next push is long, Ron said. Hold. They braced against the wall and took the heat in their faces. Skin dried and then felt wet again with sweat that had nowhere to go. The air tasted like coins. Go, Ron said. They ran the last 3 steps. The final gap wanted a knee. Harry shoved Hermione up and forward by the belt, caught Ginny's shoulder, and pulled her across. Ron jumped and clipped the far edge. Harry grabbed his strap and yanked him clear. They piled into a shallow pocket and lay there for 5 breaths. Not dead, Ron said, which came out half laugh, half cough. Don't say it like that, Hermione said. But she was smiling in a way that looked like pain and relief tried to stand in the same place. Move, Ginny said. He'll send more. He heard that. They moved into a chamber that didn't look like the vents. It looked built, the floor leveled. The air still pulsed, but the beats were slower, heavy, measured. Above them, a wide frieze of a jaguar ran along the curve of the ceiling, teeth out, eyes set with dull green glass. In the center stood a stone frame with 4 slots, 3 round sockets and 1 narrow slit set slightly apart. Carvings covered the frame. Waves, lines, notations that weren't letters but were still language. Hermione let out a breath she'd been holding for 10 minutes. "Anchor," she said low. "We're here." Ron stepped up, wiped his hand on his shirt, and pressed his fingers to the cuts. Oberon cipher. He followed loops and lines and stopped when a small notch made a sound under his nail. He leaned in. 3 notes bind. 1 breaks. "Music," Ginny said. "That tracks. He's been using tones." Ron nodded and kept reading. "Bind sockets here, here, here. Break slot there." He tapped the narrow slit. He reached into a little basin under the frame and fished around carefully. His fingers closed on a small metal thing. He pulled out a brass pin the size of a quill tip with a tiny pitch notch cut into it. He turned it in the dim light. "Tuning pin." "What for?" Hermione asked. "Testing," Ron said, casual so he wouldn't make it heavy. He slipped it into the side pocket on the boombox strap without looking at any of them. Later. Harry didn't argue. He didn't have room in his head for a new argument. "What else?" Ron traced the last line. "Bind in sequence or the ring cracks wrong and kills the player holding it." "Nice," Ginny said. "So we do it in order. We don't fake it." A soft touch slid through their heads like a fingertip dragged along a table. Calm, precise. Loyalty saves lives. Ginny flinched. Her hand twitched toward the bow and then she stilled it. Ron's jaw tightened so hard the muscles jumped. Hermione's eyes went sharp and mean. She hated being worked like a puppet more than anything. The boombox clicked by itself. A new chime bled out. Not the neat single note from the corridors. A small string of tones, simple, almost friendly. Ding, ding, ding. Ginny's eyes flickered. A twitch toward the wrong corner. Ron slapped the side of the boombox with the back of his hand and killed the speaker. "Not today." Harry scanned the walls. No clean exits. 2 side doors looked like doors and not like doors, which in this place meant they'd become something else when the sequence started. "Positions," Hermione said. "We're not starting a bind until we know what moves when it lights." "Agreed," Harry said. "Ron, stay off the break slot." "Ta very much," Ron said. "Wouldn't have thought of it." Hermione touched Harry's arm and looked him dead in the face. "Ask for help before any heroics." "I will," he said. The words were easier now that he'd said them twice today. It didn't mean he liked them less. The floor under their boots thudded once. Then again. The ring around the anchor frame lit from inside with a dull red. The vents above the jaguar teeth roared to a new count. Faster. The 2 false doors ground down and shut, stone edges smashing grit into powder. The room got smaller by sound even if the walls didn't move. Ron frowned and looked at the boombox. He hadn't touched it. A red light blinked near his thumb. It hadn't blinked before. It wasn't the power light. "Air," he said. "What's that?" The boombox flipped to record without his hand. The red light went solid. Ron's eyes went distant for half a beat, like someone pressed 2 fingers to his temples from inside. "Ron," Ginny said. He blinked. "I'm here." Harry didn't lower his wand. The anchor frame's inner circle clicked. Hot air rolled. Everything started moving at once. The doors slammed, stone on stone. The sound hit their ribs. The vents roared louder, counted pulses. Hot air shook dust out of the ceiling. A red light blinked beside Ron's thumb on the boombox. Not power. Record. Harry's grip tightened on his wand. "Ron." "I see it," Ron said, eyes on the anchor frame. His face had gone pale under the grime. Sweat cut muddy lines. It's just. A neat chime spiked through the room. Ding, ding, ding. Ron stiffened. His pupils blew wide. His jaw set hard. Finite. Hermione snapped. The cut of magic was quick and clean. It snapped some thin shimmer in the air and nothing else. Harry barked. Oberon, counter-frequency. Ron's thumb hovered. He hesitated. Then his hand moved. It didn't go to the dial. He reached for the strap pocket and pulled the small brass tuning pin he'd taken in the last chamber. His fingers shook. He lifted it like a pick and struck the narrow brake slot. Tink. The anchor frame shuddered. A crack line lit up the ring. Ron, no! Ginny shouted. He hit it again. Precise. Tink. The crack widened. Harry lunged. Brave stone, hold! He smashed into Ron's shoulder first and drove him off the frame. The tuning pin skittered across the floor. Ron's forearm bars flashed as his back slammed the stone. 3 bright. Still 3. The boombox coughed and dumped a low pulse on its own. Vines in the ceiling twitched. Floor plates clicked. Get the pin! Hermione yelled. Ginny sprinted. Navigator, route. She cut left around a rising plate, boots scraping. Ron rolled and kicked the boombox switch with his heel. Oberon, frequency! He shouted. But the tone that came wasn't his. It was Voss riding his hand. The pulse hit the floor like a hammer. A plate slammed up between Ginny and the pin and threw her back. She hit hard and snarled.
Sorry.
Ron choked and then his mouth twisted. Words were dragged out of him. I didn't stop. Voss didn't let him stop. Hermione rushed him. Roundhouse, disarm. She went low, nunchucks flashing. She took his wrist with a sharp crack. The tuning pin flew. Ron flinched and pulled back, tears starting in his eyes as the curse shoved pain up and out. He swung the box like a club. It hit Hermione's forearm. Thud. She grunted. Harry grabbed Ron's shoulders. Look at me. Ron stared past him. Glassy. The chime slid under his skin again. Ding, ding, and something colder riding underneath. The words started. Not clean. Not performed. Dragged. Broken. Ugly. I was never. Ron's breath hitched. I'm the backup. D'you get that? You say we, and the room hears Harry. Or Harry and Hermione. I'm the pause after. I'm the afterthought. Ron, Harry started. Don't, Ron said. His voice wasn't his. It had a shaky edge like a blade pressed at his throat from inside. Don't do the face. You don't even know you do it. That look. I'll fix it. I'll save it. You walk into a mess and everyone parts for you. They move for you. They never moved for me. Ginny slid around the raised plate, bow in hand. Harry, left. I'll take the arrow on his hand, Hermione called, breath snagging. Not the chest. We are not killing him. I'm not, Ginny said, and then swallowed the rest. I know. Ron's mouth kept going. The curse pulled the words out like hooks. He tried to shut it. It didn't matter. Always second, he said. At home. At school. In the bloody tent. You two had plans. The smart one and the chosen one. I was the bloke who laughed at your jokes and made tea. Harry's grip stayed steady. You're not a tea boy. You don't get to decide that, Ron snapped, and then flinched like something inside hit him for speaking. His hand jerked. The boombox belched a pulse that rattled the anchor frame. Hermione staggered and nearly went down. Ginny, line, Harry barked. Cut that plate now. On it. She arrowed the plate's hinge with 2 fast shots. Thunk thunk. The plate dropped crooked and stuck. Move. Hermione slid past, nunchucks up, going for Ron's wrist again. He caught her with the strap and yanked. She twisted with it and came up inside his reach, drove her shoulder into his chest, and knocked the breath out of him for a second. It didn't stop the words. I hate the way people talk about you, Ron said, voice cracking. The way they look at you, like you're the answer to everything. I hate that I love you and I still wanted you to fall on your face sometimes so I could feel like I wasn't a joke. Harry's throat worked. Okay. That's not, Hermione started. Don't correct my feelings, Hermione? Ron spat, then gagged, dizzy with it. You correct everything. Every sentence. Every plan. You don't mean to. You don't. I know you don't. But you make me feel thick. Every day. You make a list and I'm not on it unless you need someone to carry it. Hermione's mouth opened. That's not fair. The last word broke in the middle. I do that. I do that. But you're not. Save it, Ron said, and sobbed once tight. The kind of shock cry that comes from too much pressure in a pipe. He swung the boombox on a strap and smashed it into a floor plate. The tone that spat out matched the first break note. Tink. The ring around the anchor frame shook itself like a wet dog. Tin, Ginny said. It's under the edge. Hermione pointed. Careful. On your right, Harry Lowe, Ginny yelled. Harry ducked. A dart whispered past his ear and cut his cheek. It bled hot. Hermione spun and kicked the needle box that had spat it. Her foot hit the side panel. Something inside clicked and breathed. A needle popped and caught her along the outside of her calf. She jerked. Ah, bugger. Poison ping, Ginny said. Sit if you have to. I'm not sitting. Hermione's eyes blurred and cleared like bad glass. She gagged and swallowed it. Small sips. Herbs. Yes, I remember. Harry, Ginny snapped, because he'd started to bull forward. Don't do the lone wolf thing. Ask. He shut his eyes for a second, then opened them. Help. Hermione, left hand. Ginny, cut his line. Ron, listen. Ron laughed, sharp and miserable. Listen? To what? To you telling me I'm brave? I know I'm brave. I killed spiders the size of cars when I was 12. I stood in front of Death Eaters when I was 17 and I couldn't feel my hands. I walked back into a tent after I left you and I thought you'd hex my teeth out. I know I'm brave. I'm just not you. Harry's voice went flat. I don't need you to be me. You don't get it. Ron's eyes streamed. That's the point. It doesn't matter what you need. The world decided what I am when I was 5 and Mum put me in Percy's old jumper and we laughed about it because we had to. I'm the one who gets by. I'm the one who makes do. I'm the one who's fine. The tone in the boombox shifted. Voss rode it like a hand on a steering wheel. A new pulse hit the ring. The floor under the frame groaned. A hairline crack shot across the near plate. Stop him, Hermione said. Do not break that ring again. Ginny darted in. Navigator route. She went to Ron's outside shoulder. Fast hands, low center. She slid the bow across the strap and hooked it, tried to strip it off. Ron jerked his elbow and smacked her forearm. She swore and kept hold. Harry tackled Ron around the waist and pinned his arms. Bravestone, hold. He locked his hands and took the writhing weight. He refused to hurt him. He turned Ron's face away from the frame and ate a headbutt to the chin for it. Stars hit the corners of his eyes. He held anyway. Ron cried through his teeth. I failed the OR exams, he said. Twice. You know that. You know that and you said it's fine and I wanted to smash a chair because it isn't fine. It's not it's not fine. His voice broke on the swear because some piece of Hermione still lived in his head and he didn't want to hear her scold him even now. That hurt worse than the rest. Harry's jaw ached. I know it's not fine, he said. I said it wrong. I say it wrong. I shut down. I do that.
I'm sorry.
You don't, Ron choked. His arms shook in Harry's hold. You don't have to be the hero in every bloody room. You don't. You can just be Harry. I don't know how to be me when you won't be you. The vents hammered a new count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The anchor ring rattled. A thin cloud of dust drifted out of the jaguar's teeth. Hermione's hand shook as she fumbled a leaf onto her calf and pressed it in. Ron breathed. I am, he said, wrecked. That's the problem. I'm breathing and I can hear him and I can hear you and I can hear Mum and I can hear everyone who ever said, well, at least you're funny. Like that makes up for not being. A plate behind him lifted. Ginny arrowed the hinge. Thunk. It dropped. Keep talking, she said, eyes never leaving his hands. Let it out. Ron's fingers found the side basin under the frame without him meaning to. The curse tugged them there. The pad of his thumb brushed metal. The key sliver sat there, meant for a hand to take. He didn't want it. He picked it up anyway. Ron, Harry said, because he felt the shape of the moment before he saw the glint. Don't. I don't get to choose, Ron said, voice breaking high into a boy's. He's got my head. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Give it to me, Hermione said, stepping in, dizziness kicking her knees. We'll do it together. Ron slammed the key sliver into the brake slot. The room dropped an inch. The ring screamed. The floor split along two plates. A side slab tilted, then let go and collapsed toward Ron. Vents blasted. Hot air punched them in the face. Grit ripped at their eyes. Harry! Ginny shouted. He didn't think. No big shield. He couldn't pay for it. He grabbed Ron's belt and the back of his collar and hauled. Hermione, take his arm. Got it. Her hands clamped his wrist, fingers white. Anchor, Harry yelled. Ginny flung herself flat and hooked her forearms around Harry's waist. Her boots scraped for a purchase. She locked her thighs on a floor groove. Hold! The slab slammed down. Ron's legs went out. His weight dropped. Harry's grip burned. Ron's forearm bars flashed. 3 bright went to 2 with a pop when the slab clipped his hip. 2 to 1 when the impact cracked his ribs. Heat surged up from the vent shaft under the falling stone. The last bar stuttered, dim, bright, dim, bright. Don't you bloody let go, Ron sobbed, sobbing words turning into sound. I've got you, Harry grunted, arms screaming. I've got you. Hermione's fingers slipped on sweat. She tightened anyway. Hold, hold, hold. The edge of the slab ground down Ron's thigh. He screamed, high and torn. The last bar flickered. Harry, he said, small. I'm here, Harry said, and meant it more than anything he'd said today. The slab dropped the last inch all at once. Ron's hand tore out of Hermione's grip. Harry's fingers ripped skin. Ginny's anchor held, but there was nothing left to hold. Ron fell into the vent shaft. His last bar went black before his body hit the dark. Silence came like a punch. Then the vents drew a breath and exhaled heat again. Harry lay there with his face in the grit, hands cut and bleeding. He didn't move for 2 beats because if he moved he might throw something. He swallowed bile. Hermione rolled to her side and threw up. Nothing left, just acid and shaking. She spat and wiped her mouth with the back of her hand. Is he? Respawn, Ginny said, voice thin. Watch. A green shimmer pulled along the ducts, fast as a thought. It ran the vent lines like light through veins. It slid past them and under the next grate. It raced along the floor under the jaguar frieze and into the far wall. For a second they saw him through a grating high in the rock. Ron kneeling by a stone dais in a small inner chamber. He reappeared with a body shudder and a sound like a sob caught on a breath. He lifted his head. His eyes were glassy. Voss stood behind him with a hand not touching his shoulder and still touching everything. The boombox hummed in Ron's hands. The red light stayed on. The strap sat right at his throat like a threat. Ron, Hermione said, small and ruined. He couldn't hear. Or he heard and the curse leaned on him until the hearing didn't matter. Harry pushed himself to his knees. His palms left blood on the stone. He dragged his sleeve over his face and looked at the anchor ring. The brake crack had stopped widening. The frame stuttered under 2 faint, steady notes. 2 bind sockets glowed weak and stubborn. The third was dark. The brake slot pulsed like a vein. What does the slab say now? He asked. because doing a thing kept him upright. Hermione crawled to the nearest glyph panel and squinted through swimming eyes. Same. Break the anchor where the jaguar watches the breath of the earth. She swallowed again. Urgent. Not optional. Ginny's hands shook as she pulled an herb wrap out of her pouch and jammed it between Hermione's teeth. Chew. Hermione made a face and chewed anyway. Tastes like old pond. It keeps you upright, Ginny said. She looked at Harry's hands. You're bleeding. I know, he said. Wash, she said, handing him the last of their water. He poured just enough to get grit out of the cuts. The water went pink and then nothing. He flexed his fingers and hissed. Talk to me, Hermione said, not looking up from the glyphs because the moment she looked up she might cry again. What's failing? Plates, Harry said, short. Vents. He pointed. That great. It's going to go. Ginny nodded once. We move before it starts counting down. Right? Hermione said, and then stopped because her stomach flipped and she thought she'd have to crawl back to the corner. Past. Okay, I can walk. Don't lie about it, Ginny said. I said I can, Hermione snapped. Not that I should. Mind your adverbs. Ginny huffed one humorless breath. She's back. Across the grate, Voss turned Ron toward them. He didn't touch him. He didn't have to. Ron moved like a puppet with his strings inside his bones. He lifted the key sliver. The boombox glowed. A soft, neat chime slid into their heads, clean as a knife on glass. Loyalty saves lives. Ginny's fingers twitched toward the bowstring. She stopped herself. Hate that line. Harry stood. He swayed once, righted, and stared through the grate at the man in the other room. Let him go. No answer. The room beyond didn't echo like theirs. The vents there breathed a different count. The grate between chambers juddered. It began to lower. Not fast. Steady. Vents counted down in hot pulses that lined up with the fall. Options, Hermione said, came out thin. None I like, Ginny said. Harry's fingers tightened. He didn't say he would go alone. He didn't say he'd throw himself under the grate and roll. He didn't say he'd spend the last bar. He looked at both of them instead. On me, he said. We move on the next exhale. Ginny nodded once. With you. Hermione wiped her mouth, swallowed hard, and pushed herself up. With you. She touched his sleeve. Ask if you need anything before you do something stupid. He didn't try to joke. I will. The grate dropped another foot. Hot air washed over their faces in timed beats. 1, 2, 3. Felt like a countdown. Ron lifted the key sliver higher. His eyes were wet and empty at the same time. His lips moved. He was still talking. They couldn't hear the words. Ready, Harry said. They set their feet. The floor under their boots thumped once, hard enough to shake teeth. The grate kept falling. The vents kept counting. The grate kept dropping. Hot air hit in counted punches. 1, 2, 3. The floor shook with each breath. Voss brushed their heads in a calm, flat line. Come along. Ron stood at the inner shrine dais with the boombox strapped tight across his chest. Glassy eyes, one life flickering on his forearm. It blinked like a bad lamp. Finite, Hermione snapped. The clean little cut of magic slapped the air and did nothing to the grate. Positions, Harry said. Short. He didn't waste extra words. Ginny, line. Hermione, plates. Ginny already had the arrow knocked. She aimed past the bars at the hinge that looked weakest. If I shoot the wrong thing and bounce it back, I will never hear the end of it. You won't, Hermione said, but don't shoot. The grate hit stone with a heavy thud and sealed the gap. No way back. The pulse of the vents rolled across their faces and tasted like hot coins. They took in the room because they had to. Jaguar frieze above. Stone anchor frame in the middle with 3 round sockets and 1 narrow break slot. Old dust. Fresh heat. Floor plates cut in a tight ring around the dais. Darts tucked in slits that waited to spit. Everything built to fire on timing. Ron squinted at a small slab on the dais. Oberon cipher. He read fast, lips moving. 3 bind. 1 breaks. Bind first, then breathe, then watch. Breathe what? Ginny said. The vents, Hermione said. Eyes on the pulsing mouths above the jaguar teeth. Timing. Voss slid a small chime in under their thoughts. Ding. Soft. Kind. Wrong. Ginny's eyes twitched toward the break slot before she knew she'd moved. Oi, Harry said, plain and loud. With me. She blinked hard. With you. Ron's life bar flickered again. He hugged the boombox against his ribs like it might bite him. I'm at 1. Not spending it here. I'm not. You're not, Harry said, and meant it. We do this clean. Voss pushed another tone and let a thin line of thought whisper through. He wants you to fail for him. It was neat as a knife. Harry unclenched his jaw. All right, we do it like this. He said it out loud because that mattered.
I'm lowering odsklumency.
On purpose. He wants in. Fine. He can have in. Hermione, roundhouse, disarm near the sockets. Clear traps. Keep it tight. Ginny, navigator, weak point. Find a hairline in the ring, something we can hit. Ron, you ready the bind sequence. Oberon, bind frequency. Not break. You sure? Ginny asked. No, Harry said. But we need something. And I'm asking for help. He looked at both of them because that mattered even more. Anchor me. If I go weird, pull me out. Hermione stepped close and put 2 fingers on the back of his neck. We will. She kept her voice even through the slight sway in her balance. That was a complete sentence, by the way. Thanks, he said. Ginny hooked her hand through his belt from the other side. If he tries to walk you toward a cliff, I'm yanking you back so hard you'll bruise. Good, Harry said. He met Ron's eyes. You hear me? Ron swallowed. His throat moved against the strap. Yeah. His voice came out rough. Bind. Not break. Voss didn't wait for a count. He slammed Imperius down the wire with a gentle little chime. The tone brushed Ron's fingers. Ron flinched and steadied by force. Come on then, Harry said to the air, honest and tired and stubborn. He dropped the walls. Not all the way. Enough. If you're going to look at me. The link opened like a hand on his face. Cold. Precise. Pressing for purchase. Voss came in with clean little pushes, not a rush. He slipped under thoughts and sat there like a weight on a shelf. Harry kept talking. Small, true lines.
I'm scared.
He said it without drama. I don't like being watched. I need help. I'm asking for it. A tiny tremor ran through the tone. Not much. Enough to show it landed. Move, Hermione said, and ran the ring. Roundhouse, disarm. She kicked a plate at the socket and knocked the latch out. She used the nunchucks as levers to wedge a trapdoor half shut. A dart hissed. She ducked. It scraped her sleeve and buried itself in the frame with a hard thunk. Left hinge weak. Scene, Ginny said. Navigator, weak point. She ran 2 fingers along the anchor ring and found a hairline crack a thumb length left of the second socket. Here, is a real crack. Not carved. Mark it, Hermione said. Ginny dragged chalk across the stone and rubbed it in with a knuckle so it wouldn't blow away. Done. Ron set the boombox on the lip of the dais and touched the first socket with shaking fingers. Bind 1 ready. He took 1 steadying breath. The heat made that hard. On your call. Harry kept his eyes on the space where Voss felt like a pressure. Now. Ron played the first bind note. It wasn't pretty. It didn't need to be. It set like a peg in a hole. The socket glowed dull red. The floor to its right lifted to throw him. Hermione stepped into it and stomped the hinge down. Stay put, she told the plate like it could listen. It did for now. Voss twitched the brake chime. Ron's fingers jerked toward the narrow slot by reflex. Ron, Harry said, still calm. Stay. Ron gritted his teeth. I am. The vent pulses went long, short, long. Dust slid along the ceiling. Ginny's braid stuck to the back of her neck. Sweat ran down into Harry's eyes. He didn't wipe it because he needed both hands free. Bind 2, Hermione said. Clear. Ready, Ron said. On you. Go. Ron played the second bind note. The second socket lit. A floor dart box snapped open at Hermione's ankle. She hopped and kicked it shut with a sharp curse. Language, she told herself, which made Ginny snort once through her teeth in a way that kept her steady. Voss stopped being subtle. He shoved a clean break tone along the line and pushed Imperius hard enough to make Ron's hand tremble. Ron's life bar flashed once like a warning. Harry, Ginny said, tight. He's pushing. I know. Harry kept his eyes on the dark air where he could feel the man. He didn't bother with big speeches. He gave him simple, fast things. Lived things. Hogwarts. First night. Sorting Hat said Slytherin and I argued. Ron laughed at my sandwich. I didn't know how to ride a broom. He taught me a swear his mum hated. Remus's chocolate after a Dementor. Sirius's laugh in the kitchen. Fred. The shop. The joke about dragon dung. Ginny on a broom when she was 8 and wouldn't come down. Hermione asleep on books she said she wouldn't sleep on. Graveyard. Cedric. Dumbledore's hand. Remus and Tonks. Hagrid's hut. The burrow at Christmas. Molly's jumper. Ron's chessboard. Hermione's essays with color-coded tabs. Sirius's old knife. The tent. The radio. Saying Voldemort into the wind anyway. Dobby in my arms. The room of requirement on fire. Neville holding the sword. Colin. The great hall. The quiet after. He didn't dress them up. He dropped the names like stones. He said them the way he remembered them. It hit like gravel in water. The clean break tone wobbled a half step and then tried to correct. Voss pushed harder. You are weak when you ask. It wasn't a shout. It was almost kind. Worse that way. Harry shook his head. His hands shook. His breath went fast. He didn't slow it. I'm weak alone. I'm not alone. Ginny squeezed his belt twice. Not alone. Hermione's fingers pressed into the back of his neck. Not alone. Ron blew out through his nose and forced his hand back to the bind socket instead of the break. Bind 3, he said, voice shaking and stubborn. Now? Now, Harry said. Ron played the third bind note. The last socket tried to kick the peg out. Hermione slammed the plate clear with a heel and growled at it under her breath like it had insulted her thesis. Stayed down. The ring took the third tone. All three glowed. The anchor frame hummed. The vents changed count and blew a long breath across their faces that smelled like old rock. Voss snapped the break chime to shatter it. The narrow slot lit up and spat a clean little tink that hit the ring dead center. Hairline cracks spidered toward Ginny's chalk mark. Now, Ginny said. That hit the weak point. I've got it. She planted her boots and drew on the chalk mark. On my call. Harry let the link open the rest of the way. He didn't play clever. He dropped the last things he hadn't said out loud yet. I hated Tom Riddle and I liked scaring him. I'm angry I lived and Fred didn't. I'm jealous when people go home to parents. I still sleep with the wand in my hand sometimes. I'm tired of being the one who has to be fine. I'm not fine. I want help. I want my friends to pull me when I stop moving. The clean break tone faltered like a note on a bad string. Ron, Harry said. Eyes wet and hot and not blinking. There, take it. The slot misfired the tiniest bit. He switched frequency by feel. He jammed the break slot with the little pin/thumb pitch he'd kept in his head since the cavern. He didn't touch the tuning pin. He didn't need it. He hit the cancel. The bright little tink died halfway out. Now, Ginny shouted. Hermione hit the weak plate with both heels like a stamp and popped the stress across the crack Ginny had marked. The ring threw the stress into the rim instead of the bond. It split along the edge, not the core. Hold! Harry shouted, hands on the anchor. Help! He asked out loud, broad and simple, not for style, for the rule, for himself. Hermione's hand stayed on his neck. Ginny's grip bit his belt. Ron planted his feet at the socket and kept the bind notes humming with a thin, stubborn line of sound. The ring locked. The air snapped flat. Voss didn't explode. He came apart like dust turned off. One blink he held the line, the next he wasn't there. The tone cut to nothing. The boombox in Ron's hands died with a soft little sigh and the red light went dark. Silence hit. Real silence. No whisper in their heads. Only vents. Only breath. Only their own hearts going too hard. Ron sucked in air like a drowning man and wobbled on his knees. His life bar flickered once, steadied at one, and stopped threatening to go black. Are we done? Ginny asked low. The jaguar frieze above them lifted with a grinding roll. A small shard of green stone dropped out of a hidden throat and clinked onto the floor in front of Harry's boot. Nigel's small rune flashed on the dais. Return it. Say the name. Harry bent with shaky legs and picked up the shard. It was warm and just heavy enough to feel real. He looked at the others. Ready? He asked. Say it, Hermione said, breathless and firm. Together, Ginny said. Ron wiped his face with the back of his hand and nodded. Together. Harry set the shard into the notch on the anchor frame. It fit. The ring took the piece. The glow rolled around once. The vents drew one long breath. They shouted it in one voice that sounded wrecked and strong anyway. Jumanji. Heat, light, a flat white roar. The world flipped. Wood under their knees, dust in their noses, afternoon light across rough floorboards, the smell of tea and cinnamon and old paper. They were back in the cramped room above the Emerald Lotus. Harry blinked hard because his eyes were useless for a second. The game book lay on the pedestal, closed and quiet. The strap of the boombox slipped out of Ron's hand and thumped on the floor like a real thing again. Ron fell to his knees with the sound of someone who'd run out of everything. I'm sorry, he said, still breathing like he'd sprinted. I said I didn't choose it. I still said it. Hermione was already moving. She dropped down in front of him and grabbed his shoulders. We know. I know. It was him. It was you, but it was him. I heard you. I still heard you. Her voice shook. I pushed. I do. I push you like a syllabus and I'm sorry. Harry wrapped an arm around Ron's neck and pulled him in until they were a mess of elbows and sweat and bruises. His throat hurt. I say it's fine when it isn't. I shut down. I make you carry it. That's on me.
I'm sorry.
Ron made a wrecked noise and held on like a person scared he didn't get a second chance. I want to be more than the bloke who makes tea. Then be, Ginny said from above them, voice rough and small. You already are. They stayed like that until the shake in their arms got embarrassing. Then they pulled apart because none of them were big on dramatic hugging. They wiped faces with sleeves and tried not to look at the book. Elsinore appeared in the doorway like she'd been listening for the sound of breathing. She had a kettle and a stack of mismatched cups against her hip. You're back, she said, soft and satisfied. Sit. They clattered down the narrow stairs and into the warm main room with the old stove ticking. The chairs didn't feel safe because nothing felt safe yet, but they sat anyway. Elsinore put cups down and poured, quick and steady. The kettle hissed. Cups clinked. She set a small plate of biscuits in the middle and touched Ron's shoulder like he was made of glass and tough rope at once. No speeches. They didn't have the air for it. Look, Ron said, staring at his own hands. They were filthy. The cuts had scabbed in Jumanji's weird way. I meant some of it. I know, Harry said. Me too, Hermione said. Please don't spare my feelings if I need to hear it. Just maybe don't do it while under a mind control curse with a soundtrack. Ginny snorted into her tea and coughed once. Good rule. Ron took a biscuit and didn't eat it. He turned it in his fingers. I don't want to be the spare. I can't keep being the joke I make about myself because it makes other people comfortable. You don't have to, Hermione said. That's not homework. That's yours. You're allowed to be proud, Harry said. His voice was small and honest. And I'm allowed to need you without pretending I don't. Ginny pointed at Harry with the edge of a biscuit. That one. Say that again when you start doing the stare. I will, Harry said. Tap me if I forget. I will, Ginny said. Hard. Hermione rubbed a spot on her calf and winced when she found the mark. My ears are still ringing. Also, for the record, I'm going to apologize now and again later for snapping at you about grammar during a fight. Habit. I'll try to pick better moments. Ron huffed a laugh that sounded like it had tears stuffed in the back of it. To be fair, you were right. It was an adverb. Of course I was right, she said deadpan. I'm still sorry. They drank hot tea in little sips because their hands shook. The heat went down easier than it should have. The room was too quiet and exactly right. Harry set his cup down and watched the way his fingers trembled against the wood. We're good, he asked. Came out softer than he meant. Ron didn't pretend to be brave. We work on it, he said. Not a pass, a plan. Good, Harry said. Ginny leaned back, eyes closed for a second. New rule, she said. If I twitch when a chime goes off and there isn't a clock in the room, someone taps my shoulder. Twice. I'll do the same for you if you start staring into the middle distance like some tragic hero. I don't, Harry started. You do, all three of them said together. He took it. Fine. Elsinore set a small, chipped bowl of lemon slices on the table and gave them the faint smile of someone who had seen braver and worse. Don't leave until you've eaten something, she said, and left them to the work of being normal again. They didn't rush it. They didn't pretend it was cleaned up in 10 minutes of tea. They said the bits that were easiest first. Hermione, I pushed you because I thought pushing was love. It was control. I'll ask before I assign. Ron, I left because I thought leaving would make you chase me. I hate that I thought that. I'll say I'm scared instead of making you guess. Harry, I'll stop saying it's fine like a brick wall. If I need 5 minutes, I'll take them and say so. Ginny, I'll admit when the tone gets under my skin. I'm not weak for saying it. It wasn't pretty. It was quiet and human and had pauses where nobody knew what to say, so they passed the biscuits back and forth and pretended to argue about the last one until Ron took it and split it 4 ways. When nobody could drink more tea without floating, Harry stood. His knees popped. Scars check, he said, because a list helped. Life bars gone. They looked. Skin. No glowing marks. Hermione rubbed her ears again. Still ringing. That's mine. Throats raw, Ron said. Chimes and screaming. Brilliant combo. Hands, Harry said, flexing. I'll bandage them at home. I'll actually do it. Don't glare. I'm not glaring, Hermione said, already pulling out a clean cloth because of course she had one. Well, not much. Ginny squeezed Harry's wrist with 2 fingers, gentle on the cuts. We're not done, she said. We keep talking. We keep talking, he agreed. They climbed back to the little attic once more because they had to know. The book sat on the pedestal like it had never moved. The leather looked old and bored. Nigel's small rune on the spine faded as they watched, like a fire going polite at the end of a night. Elsinore came behind them, slow, and picked up a carved box from the corner. She set the book inside. She closed the lid with both hands. The click was small and satisfying. Done? Ron asked. Done for you, Elsinore said. For now. She slid the box onto a high shelf behind the kettle. There's always someone who wants a game to tell them what to do. Not us, Ginny said. No, Elsinore's mouth went kind. Not you. They walked to the door together. The latch stuck like always and then gave. The street outside looked like London on a normal day. Bus brakes. A bike bell. A streak of cloud behind a plane. A woman laughing with a phone in her hand. Everything too ordinary and exactly what they needed. Harry looked back once. The pedestal shelf was empty. The book was gone from sight. On the counter sat one mismatched cup he hadn't noticed before, white with a painted jaguar trotting around the side. Someone had chipped the rim a lifetime ago. "Ready?" Ginny asked. "Yeah," Harry said. "Let's go home." They stepped out into the sound of the city. No chime followed them. The door closed behind with an honest little click. The air tasted like rain even though the sky said not yet. They didn't hold hands like a movie. They walked close, shoulders bumping when the pavement narrowed, and let the ordinary noise wrap around them. They didn't say much. They didn't have to. They were not fine.